Hello, 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 folks. How we doing? I hope everybody had a good weekend. Welcome, welcome. We are going to get started here in about 30 seconds. Anybody do anything fun this weekend? All right. Welcome, everyone. Hi. Hey, Charlie. Hey, Rascal. Hey, Crypto Asset. Welcome. Hey, Lalo. Carses, I'm going to give folks just another minute here. I know that office hours are still wrapping up. Um, so, I'm going to give folks a minute. Hey, Andrea, Luca, Crypto. I'll be watching all videos this week. You don't got to do that. Just pick the ones that are useful for you. That's why I'm here, right? It's not about me, it's about you. Whatever you find useful. Raid, what? Hey, Civic. Texas, yeah. Hi, folks. Wow, okay. We are coming in. We are coming in. All right. So, hey, Kasava. Afternoon chat, indeed. Yeah, so we're going to do something fun today. Um, I was thinking about it, and I realized over the last um, definitely during all of October, I was really focusing on interview prep and that sort of thing, and making sure that we were ready for. You all are ready for interviews and things. So we're doing a lot of Banky, doing a lot of story crafting, all those types of things. And then I realized it's been maybe like, oh, Tucker Tech, thank you for so much for the resub. I so appreciate it. Thank you. Um, I realize it's been a couple months since we've actually built something, right? Since we've actually taken something, an app idea of some kind and built it together on stream. Um, and so that's what I'd like to do today. Um, I need to update Chrome. Yeah, I do. I'm one of those people that I never close all my tabs. And I always have like multiple windows with multiple tabs open. And so it's really hard to get all the tabs closed so that Chrome can actually update. Yeah, it's a problem. Hey, Dabs Amigas, thank you so much for the resub. I really appreciate it. Hi there, indeed. Thank you, Dab. It just gives me anxiety. Yeah, so this is not. Now, I know I've said this before, but at least it's not. This is not my plan for today's stream to be a marathon. That's not the point. The point of today's stream is I see people, getting to this point and they're starting to get interviews and they're starting to do those sorts of things. They're starting to freak out a little bit about, oh, I need to learn, I need to learn React. I need to learn, um, all these libraries and extra tools and things just to be able to build something. Synesthesia, thank you again for the sub. Wow. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I so appreciate it. Thank you. Wow. Yeah, panic learning. Exactly. That's a great way to describe it, MME. It's panic learning because you're thinking, oh, well, this job is asking for this, and this job is asking for this, so I got to learn all this. And you really don't. And so what we're going to build today is what you see here on the right. It's a little bit behind my head. I hope it's visible enough. I can drag it over here. Um, I'll just make this bigger just for now. So what we're going to build is just a ticket tracker, and this is something that a lot of companies use, right? They people put in tickets and they have some way that they track tickets. They mark them closed. They change the status. They assign them to people. People put in tickets and then they get assigned to a certain person to work on that ticket. And then once it's done, you can close it. And so we're just going to build like a simplified version of that. And I really think this could be fleshed out a little bit more, this could be a super useful app that somebody could actually use for like a small business. And so that's what we're going to build today. And we're going to build it in essentially vanilla JavaScript and HTML with Bootstrap for styling. You can tell probably just by looking at this that this is a Bootstrap app. It just has that look. But since it's just a ticket tracker, I mean, it doesn't have to be particularly pretty. It just has to be usable. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of remind ourselves how much we can do with just JavaScript and HTML and using Bootstrap for styling. So hopefully that'll be fun. It's going to be this is going to be an easy breezy, fairly simple project that's going to, again, remind us how much we already know how to do. So, oh, I got to turn on my captions. Give me just one moment to do that, folks. Okay. For those of you who want or need captions, I'm turning them on now. And therefore, once there we go. Okay, should be on now, and you can enable them by clicking on the caption icon that should appear at the right side of your screen. When you hover your mouse at the right side of the screen, you can switch on captions that way. Hey, no worries, Buttercup. And so what we're going to do here, so the kind of the plan is that we are going to build this again using just JavaScript and HTML. And this is not the app that we're going to build today is not even going to have a backend. However, it is still going to function. And in a later stream, what we might do is go ahead and add like database storage and stuff like that. But we don't, in order to function, an app doesn't necessarily need a backend. What kind of switches do I have on my keyboard? All the keyboard nerds are gonna be mad at me for this, but I don't remember. They're clicky, but they're like the soft kind of clicky because I don't want them to be super loud when I'm on stream. I deliberately got the soft kind of clicky switches, so whatever those are. Yeah, it's mechanical keyboard, but it's soft clicky. So hopefully that's enough information. I don't know. uh, Yeah, exactly. And Jazzy brings up a great point. That's how Wordle works. That's how a lot of browser games work, is that they don't actually have a database backend. They use something called what? What do we call it when we don't have an official database backend on our app, but it's still able to store things? It is serverless. That's true, and it's caching in the sense of in the definition of caching. We're storing things. Yeah, it's local storage. Right. We call that local storage when we're able to still store information in the browser without actually having to write it to a database. Because sometimes writing to a database is not really necessary. Sometimes you can just have it be stored in the local browser. Right. Exactly. Um, Sinis says, I love your keyboard. I bet they're cherry reds. I'll try to remember during the break to get the model number so y'all can look it up. It's a HyperX keyboard. I don't know. And I'll try to remember to get the model number so all the keyboard nerds can look it up and decide for themselves whether it's any good. Yes, but it's local storage. And so sometimes you don't necessarily need to write stuff to a database or want to. So you can store information in the user's browser. Um, and that information, what? Leon! Holy crap. Oh my gosh. If you just got a sub from Leon, um, please thank them. Also, check out the new emotes that you now have access to because they're pretty dope. So you've got some sweet new channel emotes now. So and be sure to thank Leon because they are the goat. Absolutely. Leon Santa. Yes, thank you, Leon. Much appreciated. I'm doing this because of you. So, all right. Where was I? Okay, yes, talking about local storage, right? Um, so, what local storage is for anybody that isn't aware or doesn't remember, we actually talked about local storage in class, but this was a long time ago. This was like April, May, so it's no worries if you don't remember. And so, what local storage allows us to do is to store something in the user's browser, and then that storage persists. So, if I reload the page, we can see that this ticket here at the bottom, this ticket is still there. I reloaded the page, it's still there. Also, if I were to kill my server, so I've got the finished app running here. If I kill my server, right here. Gonna kill it. It's gonna be dead. Timed out. Now, if I restart my server, oh hey, the ticket is back. So that storage persists. Whether I reload the page, I can close this browser and reopen it and it would still be there. And so local storage does have some capabilities that you can use potentially in your applications. And thank you for the two people that just subbed. Gwendolyn Dev, thank you. And Kasava, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Wow. This is amazing. Thank you. Thank you all. I'm floored. I'm definitely going to be doing a kitten cam later to thank you all, to honor my channel point rewards, and to thank you all. You're all going to get to see one of my adorable foster kittens after the first break. So please do stick around for that. It's the least I can do, really. Kitties, indeed. Blip. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Blip. Thank you. All right, we got a posture check. Oh, always good. I do stand while I do these streams, so that does help with my posture, but I am a bit of a gargoyle hunched over, so it's good to remind me to stand up straight occasionally. So close, yeah. So close to 5K followers, indeed. Yeah, it's wild stuff. Okay, so local storage does that. We saw the capabilities of local storage. Now, quick pop quiz. Does anybody know, what if I didn't want something to be stored when I close the browser or close that tab? What would we call that if I didn't want something to be stored? I wanted it to stay on the page just momentarily, but as soon as the user starts, closes the browser and reopens, it would be gone. Does anybody know what that's called? Session storage. Yeah, it's session storage. Yeah. Thank you, Jazzy Pants. Thank you, Yelno. Thank you for the bits. I don't really know what bits are, but they seem cool, so thank you. And thank you for the hype train. We're already at level 6, which is friggin' nuts. I don't know it's ever gotten that high before. So y'all are crazy. Thank you. Give them the bits. Yeah. Yeah, and this is just the start of the stream. Don't worry. We are just showing, if you're new to my stream, what I usually like to do is show you the end result first so that we can see what we're working for. So, like, what are we working toward? What are we even trying to build? Thank you, Nemo. Thank you for the Prime sub. Spend Jeff Bezos' money. As a reminder, if you are an Amazon Prime user, you have what's called a Prime sub, which is a free sub that does not cost you any money. So use it on your favorite streamer. Does not have to be me by any means, but do spend that and help your favorite streamer out because it won't cost you anything at all. So yeah, definitely use that and stop Jeff Bezos from going to space so quickly. Maybe my general goal is to make him have to sell his cowboy hat. So we're getting there. We're gonna do it. Oh, we gotta hydrate. Okay, thank you. I've got water today. All right. Okay, so talk about local storage. Talk about session storage. That's what we're using to power this app. So let's see how this app works in general. It's pretty straightforward compared to a lot, similar to a lot of the other things that we've done. However, we can see that there is some sort of useful styling here. There's some useful icons. So let's go ahead and add an issue. What should our issue be? What should the subject be? I'm not feeling, brain no work today. So you can give me a subject. What's an issue? Brain number. Brain not working. That's fair. All right. And the description is I am unable to think up a creative description for this ticket. And the severity is going to be medium because I'm not sure how much of a problem that is. Computer on fire. Yeah, halt and catch fire. Yep, exactly. We're going to assign it to, let's assign it to Claire. And then I can go ahead and just add this ticket. D Shep, thank you for the Prime sub. Spend those Bezos bucks, my friend. Absolutely. Yeah, and so now we can see that we have a new ticket here. It's been added to the ticket list. There's a couple things to note here. So our ticket here has been assigned a unique identifier. A ticket has a unique identifier. Each one does. It's probably a little hard to see. I apologize. I can zoom in a little bit. Um, it has a unique identifier. It has the new ticket has a status of open. Um, and it we see the ticket title, we see the ticket description, the priority, who it's assigned to, and we have the option to either close or delete this ticket. And we can see that the buttons have some behavior when I hover over them. They change color slightly. And if I click the close button, we'll see that the status of this ticket does flip to closed. Okay, so the only other question I want to ask, I guess, before we get started on this is why do we think that I might want to have an issue ID for each of the tickets on this list? Why is that? Why do I have an issue ID? Why might I need one? Yeah, exactly. It's a unique handle, just like we do when we work with databases, right? If we were working with a database here, MongoDB would already be assigning a unique ID to each ticket. But since we're working with local storage, as we'll see in a minute, since we're working with local storage, we do need to assign this ID manually. But it still serves the same purpose that it would in a database. It provides a unique reference so that when we click, the delete button, we know we're going to delete the right thing, even if there's multiple issues with the same subject. Thank you again so much for the hype train. I really appreciate it. All right. So, any questions before we get started on what we're trying to do here, what this is for, how we're going to do it, anything like that? All right. Everybody on stream right now should have received some wonderful hype train emotes. So, feel free to check those out. Also, any of the new subscribers, please check out your emotes as a thank you. I've got some pretty cute ones, if I do say so myself. All right. Is this materialized? No, actually, this isn't. That's a great question. This is Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is kind of a little bit older, and you'll probably recognize these button colors and maybe some of these, just the general look and feel of this. That you've probably seen this before on multiple sites. Bootstrap is something that's been used a lot. It's fairly popular. It's even though it's a bit older, um, it's fairly popular still, which is why we're going to use it. Just so that you can kind of get familiar with this is how we implement it, this is how we modify it, that sort of thing, because it's probably something you'll encounter at some point. So this is only going to store on local storage? Yes, this is only going to store on local storage because I think local storage is a good thing to know how to use. Especially, I feel like local storage could be a good way for you to mock out the behavior of your app before you actually add a real backend. So you don't necessarily have to build out an entire full stack just to test your application's behavior. Or you could, if you want to get some user feedback on your app without having to build out the full stack, you could just use local storage to test it out. Hey, do you like how this works? Do you like the the components that we're using here? Does the ticket need extra fields? Do we need to add things? And so that way you don't have to go through and modify your entire stack and all your controllers and your models and everything each time the user wants a new feature. You could just build them a mock-up using local storage and then get it right and then build out the entire stack once the user is ready for it. Yeah. So this is a nice way. We focus so much on the full stack that I think this can be this can be a good reminder of how much you can do just locally, mock things up for your clients or for your boss or whoever, get the design right, and then build out the stack. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Exactly. All right, so let's do it. Mock stack. Yeah, it's a mock stack. Exactly. Okay. So let's see. Got my notes over here. Get my windows rearranged. All right. Give me just 1 second. Yeah. the goal is here to try to give you something, a tool or something that might be useful to you when you are building projects for clients, especially, or for your boss. Say like, hey boss, yeah, let me just mock that up for you real quick. You'll have a working version of the app, and then tell me what features you want to change, and then after that, then you take it and you build out the whole thing. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and start building this thing. Let's just go ahead and go into your VS Code, and we aren't going to need very many files today. Like I said, this is going to be real simple. Let's build out our index.html and our main.js, 2 files, and that's all we're going to need. Just 2 things, index.html and main.js. And so what we'll do is we'll build out the basic HTML first, and then we'll start adding in the bootstrap and refreshing our window to see how the bootstrap works. As we add those components, we'll see what behavior they influence on the page, and then we'll build out our JS to actually make it function. Jesse says, ooh, we're about to make the doc type, my favorite part. That is always fun, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so if you weren't aware, also too, and the other reason we're doing this today, even though we've built much more complex stuff in the past, is that I know we've got a lot of new folks, folks who are catching up, and I kind of wanted to build something to help existing folks review and newer folks get caught up with some new content. So, all right, if you weren't aware, a quick way that you can add things, not in JS, sorry, I'm in the wrong file. In your HTML file, a quick way that you can create a document header is just by typing HTML5 and then hitting enter, and it will pre-populate all that stuff for you if you weren't aware. You have to be in an HTML file in order to do that, but that will pre-fill out all your header and junk and give you a body section where you can start to put in your HTML. No worries, Dad. Thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate it. It is pretty nice to press 2 keys and get like 8 lines of code. Yeah, it feels good, right? Or 12 or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can use Emmet and things like that to make our experience a lot faster. Yeah, or exclamation point tab also. Yes. Yep. All right, so we have our header here, and we do need to add some things into our header in order to make Bootstrap work for us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to link, have a link to the Bootstrap style sheet. So I'm going to paste that link into chat. I hope it works. We'll see. Let's just see what happens if I drop it in here. Yeah, so see if you can grab that out of chat. Bobby said, hey, someone asked on Reddit for a Trello/Jira type project, and everybody said it would cost at least 200K. Build it, find that guy, profit. Yeah. My workplace is looking at adopting a new ticket tracking software too, because our ticket tracking software is garbage. And I was thinking, man, post again. Yeah, I can post it again. There you go. Yeah, so drop that in there. Just put it above above the title tags. And that'll be in your header, and I'm going to drop it in here too. So what this is going to do is this is going to help us link to Bootstrap and let us use all those Bootstrap components within our app here. Okay, so that's all we need in the head. It works? Good. Okay, excellent. Now we are going to also need to link to a couple of things inside of our body as well. What is the first thing that I know I'm going to need to link to inside the body of my HTML? Let's go back to basics here and think about building an app from scratch. What is the first thing I should link to? I'm going to link to a script. Yeah, but what am I linking to specifically? Yeah. But yes, you said everybody's saying script, but yes, main.js, right? I need to link my JavaScript file to my HTML file. Exactly. So I can do scripts, and for the source, I'm just going to say source equals, and I'm using Emmet here. So if you see my tags auto completing, that's using Emmet. And so you can do it too. If you just type the name of a tag and hit tab, VS Code will autocomplete for you. Yeah. So first thing I'm going to link to is my main.js. Yeah, and you can also do things in the header as well. Just the general way that we do it in 100 devs is just putting the script tag in the body. But yeah, there's other ways you can do it as well, as with most things, right? And another thing we're going to do is we're going to link to a couple of other scripts here, and I'm just going to paste them into chat again. First thing we're going to do is linking to this jQuery library. There's going to be 3 things. Next thing is another bootstrap script. 1, 2. And the last thing is something we haven't seen before called chance, and this is going to help us generate our unique identifiers for our. This is going to help us generate our unique identifiers for our tickets, right? Because we don't have a database doing it for us, because again, local storage. So chance is going to help us generate our unique identifiers. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to drop those in here too. I actually don't have a repo for this, and I really should. I don't know why I didn't push it to GitHub yet. I will do that over the break, which we'll have in about 30 minutes. So if we need probably the next 30 minutes, we're just going to be building out our HTML. And so over the break, I'll push that up to GitHub. I'll link the repo for you. And so if you missed any of the scripts that I posted in the script links that I posted in chat, you'll be able to grab them off the GitHub after the break, because I don't know why I didn't push it before this, but all right. So we've linked to our main.js. We've got jQuery, Bootstrap, and Chance. And again, those things are going to help us essentially build this out with local storage only. Okay. And yeah, there's tons of other tools out there that you can use, aside from just general local storage API. But my goal with this today was really to remind us how much we can do without extra stuff, right? Without, obviously we're linking to Bootstrap and things like this here, but how much we can do just with basically plain JavaScript, right? Without having to have all sorts of other plugins and things. Yeah, I'll drop all the scripts in chat again. Yeah, we're trying to be pure today, but then you can make it as fancy as you want. So there's all the scripts again. Vanilla for the vanilla. I like that. Yeah. Sometimes it's fun to just do things in vanilla, because people will try to tell you that you always need the latest and greatest and whatever. But you don't. You can still build cool stuff without it. So I've dropped all the scripts in chat there again. Just remember, you also need to link to your main.js if you haven't already. Okay. Twitch, the opening script tag should still be there. Oh, I guess it does. It's no, it's still there. All the tags are complete. Yeah, should be fine. At least it looks complete on my end. I don't know about yours. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and start filling. Oh, it shows. Oh, darn it. Okay. Well, here, let me just set up a repo while we're talking about it. I'll just set up a repo right now. Give me 2 seconds. So that way folks don't feel like they have to try to figure this out. So, all right, ticket repo's name is going to be Ticket Tracker. Gonna get it going. All right. Okay, do get init. Actually, wait. Why am I typing it out? I will now you'll have a link to the repo and you don't have to worry about it. Let me double check that that went in just fine. And all right, so that's the repo has been created. Now I just need to do git commit m scripts. Oops, I was git add first. Sorry, git add, git commit m scripts. All right, and git push. There we go. Let's make sure those are there. Hey, hooray. All right. That was easy. Now, there is a direct link to the repo, so you don't have to worry about it. You can grab the script straight from there, and I hope you do. So just go into the HTML file and just copy paste, and you should be fine. Let me know if anybody has any issues with that, but it should be straightforward now that I've actually done the push. And I'll spam the link again to the repo a few more times so everybody has it. There you go. Wow, that was quick. Well, that's what you can get pretty fast at creating repos once you have enough practice. It's a skill, just like with anything else. Why do you have a script for Ajax? Is that part of Bootstrap? I don't remember. I need to look that up. I'll look up why I use that, um, and I'll let you know after the break because I at the moment I don't remember. Again, brain no work today. Hey, Tame Mister, thank you so much for the sub. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start filling out. I'm going to close the terminal for now because we actually aren't really going to need it. Let's go ahead and start filling out our body. I'm going to put some space here. And in the body, what we're going to see is we're going to see, pretty standard HTML tags, but we are going to, as far as the classes, we're going to be adding in some classes that Bootstrap is going to recognize, and Bootstrap is going to automatically style them for us. Because one thing you may have noticed is that we actually don't have, a CSS file here at all. And we aren't going to need one because we're using Bootstrap, and Bootstrap is going to auto style things for us. We could override those styles with our own, but Bootstrap doesn't need it. So, all right, let me get my notes back up. All right, so inside of our body, the first thing we're going to do is we can go ahead and create a section or a div or whatever you want. Create a section, and we're going to give that a class of container. Oops. And this container class, again, is something that Bootstrap is going to recognize. And so we'll play around with this a little bit. Once we get some content in here, we're going to play around with this and see how, we'll turn it on and off and see what Bootstrap does when you turn it on versus when you have it off. Okay, and so inside here, you can go ahead and put your title, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it ticket tracker for demo. All right. Now let's go ahead and just go live with this so we can kind of have it pulled up in our other window over here on the right. So I'm going to be using Live Server, which is something that you should probably be using if you don't have it already. It's an extension of your VS Code. We can see if I hover down with my mouse here in the lower right of my VS Code window, I can just click Go Live. And I think this is probably going to choose an alternate server since I'm already using the original. Yep, there we go. Okay, so pretty simple for now, just my H1. But we can update this just by saving your work over here. It will reload on this other page. All right. All right, so the next thing we can do here after below our H1 is this time we're going to add, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Give me just one moment. It's just my eye doctor reminding me that I have an eye appointment, so not important. Thanks for calling me on a Sunday, eye doctor. All right. Oh, we got to stretch. Okay. Quick stretch. Thank you for that. All right. Very important. After our H1, now what we want to do, if we look at the finished product, what essentially, whoops, I forgot to, there we go. What we want to do in the finished product is essentially we want to add kind of like a display box where we're going to put in our forms. Um, so we're gonna add a new div or section here called Jumbotron. And again, this is something that Bootstrap is going to recognize. This is a class that Bootstrap knows, which I think is pretty hilarious. So we can do section, and we can call it Jumbotron. Save that. There. And when I save it, we can see now that we get this we kind of get this gray box up here at top. And this is what Bootstrap recognizes as a Jumbotron. And I might call this like a hero section or like an important section. But Bootstrap has done some default styling, and this includes rounded corners, a background color, a default background color, and some padding. We've got some padding here on the inside of the on the inside of the container, but on the outside of the box. Um, what was the reason for choosing Bootstrap 3? Really, no reason. It was just when I was Googling around, I think the result I found was Bootstrap 3. You can use Bootstrap 5 just fine, I'm sure. I didn't even realize, I guess I didn't even realize what I was pulling, that it was older. It still works though. So yeah, feel free to upgrade. Yeah, and you can change the color as well. You can add additional, like you could make this blue or another color if you wanted, just by adding an additional class here. Um, we'll leave it as default for now, but we will do some we'll do some class changing as we get a little farther. But yeah, if you know, feel free to upgrade this to a newer version of Bootstrap. It should still work just fine. Oh no, no worries, Amelia. That's not the first time that's happened. Yeah. All right. And for what we're doing, using an older version won't really matter, especially like as Jazzy said, if it's still pretty stable. Anything to avoid a style.css. Yeah, me too. There, drunk. Yep, absolutely. Okay. So we have our jumbotron here, which is going to essentially hold our form that we're going to have at the top here. It's got some nice styling on it. So let's inside of that. Let's go ahead and add an H3. And here, this is just where we're going to kind of title our form. So we'll say add new issue. If I can't spell. All right, add new issue. And now below this is where we're going to go ahead and put our form. And we can see once I save that, we've got there's some padding on the inside of the box. It's making the box bigger as we go. So that's working just fine. Bobby says you can put a picture too and a gradient. Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at some Bootstrap classes earlier, and yeah, you can do gradients, you can do pictures, all sorts of things without actually having to have, you know, a ton of CSS. All right, so under add new issues, where we're going to go ahead and add our form. Now our form we're going to give this an ID because we're going to need to hook it to our JavaScript because our form is where people are going to submit, like when they put in a new ticket, that's where they're going to submit the ticket information. So our form is going to have an ID, and we can just call it issue input form because that's what it is. And oh yeah, no worries, Lear. Yep, we have a repo going for this. It doesn't have any of the HTML that we just did, but it does have this links to all the scripts, so you can get set up, and then you can just catch up on the HTML. And I'll do a push over the break. All right, so inside of our form, what are some of the things? So pop quiz. If we're building a form, what are some of the tags that we might use inside of a form? Especially if we're trying to build a form that looks something like this. What are some of the tags that we're going to need to put inside of this form? Yeah, we might need some inputs. Yeah, we might need an action, maybe. We might need a button, right? Yeah, it looks like a button there. We might need some placeholder. Yeah, good catch there. We might need some placeholders. Um, yeah, definitely need some inputs. We'd have yep, we have some labels. That's what these are right here. These are labels. The sort of faint text in here that goes away when you start typing, those are called placeholders. So labels, placeholders, input boxes, a button. Yeah, you could have inside of a form, you could have what's called a text area, which is like a multi-line text box. We're not going to use that in this particular build, but we have used it before in previous builds. Absolutely. Yep, labels, options. Yeah, right. Because if we look here, it's kind of hard to see because it's behind my chat. But we have a drop down menu here, right? Yeah, we might want to put in drop downs. Exactly. And so what do we call that when, what is the tag we would use to create a drop down? What tag can we use to create a drop down? Yeah, it's called the select tag, right? We can do a select, and then inside of that tag, inside of that select tag, what do we put inside of that select tag to create these like low, medium, high things that we can choose? I'm doing like a Banky quiz on you right now. How well do you know your tags? Yeah, inside of the select, you can have options. Exactly. And we're going to do that in just a minute. Yeah. So these tags have specific names, which is why I'm quizzing you on it, because the names don't necessarily make perfect sense like as to what they do. But yeah, this is called a select tag. And then inside of that, we have options. And that's what these are called when you create, things that you can click on inside of the dropdown. Yep. So the selection is going to be the enclosing tag, and then the options are going to be the individual choices within that dropdown. Yep. Right. Okay, cool. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to build out this form. Um, so the first thing we can do inside of here is we have our form ID. We are going to put a div inside of here just for styling purposes. So this is just going to be pure styling. We're going to give this div a class of form dash group. And again, this is a Bootstrap thing. Bootstrap will know what this is, and it's going to apply certain styling to the form elements based on this class of form group. And so now we can have our label for our form. And our label is going to be for our form is going to be called specifically our input box is going to be called issue subject input, issue subject input, and our label is going to be subject. It's going to be the first thing, first input box for our form. And generally labels and inputs are joined together, right? So the input that we're going to use is called, the type is going to be text. Class is going to be another Bootstrap tag, which is form control. Control. ID. Here, it's a little small, bigger here. All right. ID is going to be issue subject input. And so what we're doing here is we are linking the label to the input, right? Because both of these, since we assigned the ID of the input box to be issue subject input, we can link the label to it, and so our HTML is going to know that those two are joined together. Those two are a unit. So that's why we do that there. So label for, and then ID of our input box. All right. We can also now add a placeholder inside of the box. As we saw earlier, the placeholder is the thing that when you click on the box and start typing, that goes away, but it can tell your user what issue subject. It can tell your user what they're supposed to be typing in that box, right? Yeah. Okay. So that was our first input. So let's see what it looks like. Hey, nice. Okay, so now that we have something here on the screen, let's real quick, let's just play around with the Bootstrap a little bit. And let's take the class off of our form group here. So I'm just going to delete this class and let's see what happens when we save it. Let's see if is Bootstrap really doing anything here. Yeah, so we can see there was a bit of a change. And when I have more input boxes in here, we'll see more. We can take off the Jumbotron class and see what that does. Yeah, so that took away all the styling around it. And if I take off the form control class, let's see what that does. Yeah. When I took off form control, that essentially took away all the styling on the input box and it put it back to sort of the default HTML, which is having the label directly next to the box. So that just kind of gives you a little taste of sort of what Bootstrap, some of the heavy lifting that Bootstrap is doing here as far as styling. Type here, dummy, my placeholder. Hi, Rayton. Welcome. Yeah, so play around with these. Take away some of the classes and see what Bootstrap is doing, and then put the classes back, and just see, some of the stuff that we used to have to maybe do manually. We can kind of see what's being done automatically for us. Arwen says I corrected class to be class name and for to HTML4 because of React. Yeah, yep. Yeah, because React does things differently, right? React is, you're working in something that looks like HTML, but it really isn't, and so it can't use those default names like class and things because those are I forget what the word is. Those are protected, like you can't use them. So yeah, that's what happens when you work in a bunch of different texts at once. Yeah, right? Okay, so that was our first input box. So let's add the next one. We can just copy and paste this because it's going to be similar. So then our next one, we're just going to call it issue description input. So issue desk input. And the label there is just going to be description. All right. Input type is text. Class is form control. Remember to change the ID to be issue description input. And then our placeholder here can just be issue description. All right, when I do that, the next one pops up. Okay, so that's the second one. And then let's see what one's next. We got description. Oh, so severity. So our next one is actually the drop down. All right, so again, we can have a form group. We're going to have a form group. Oops, sorry. We're going to have another form group with a label, but our inputs are going to be different, like we talked about. Our inputs are going to be different. Drag this out a little bit. Oh, we got another stretch. Okay. Oh boy, yes. Thank you for the stretch. Whew. Jazzy Pants says, I've been working in Astro lately, which uses plain HTML but lets you insert React components. Oof. Yeah, that is really confusing. Super confusing indeed. Yeah. Okay. So for our drop down, we have our styling div, we have our label. Let's see. So if we have our styling grid, we have our label, and we're going to call this one severity. And the label for this is going to be just severity, I think is fine. Well, let's call it issue severity input to be consistent. There we go. Issue severity input. And then as we talked about before, we can just add a select class here, or a select tag here. And we're going to give this a class, again, of form control like we have before to give it that styling, the same styling as the other ones. So form control, and then the ID is going to be, again, issue severity input. Like that. Perfect. Form control ID is issue severity input. And now within our select, as we talked about before, because it's a dropdown, we need to add options for the dropdown. because if I just save this right now, the box will show up, but the drop down will be empty. And so we need to give it the options that we can choose from. Yeah, that is wild, Zavatron, right? Oh yeah, thank you for the keyboard shortcut there, Dev Puddle. Yeah, after highlighting Shift Alt Arrow buttons to paste a copy in VS Code, that is useful. See how long it takes me to remember to do it. Kevin Kevin asks, "What are we doing?" Well, we are building a just a ticket tracker app. Nothing too complicated, just kind of a quick, fun exercise in mostly vanilla JavaScript. Um, Using local storage as well. So the interesting part is going to be when we get to the JavaScript and we remind ourselves how to work with local storage versus working with a database, which is what we've been doing most of the time for the last 6 months or so, or maybe 4 months or so. We haven't really worked with local storage very much. So that's going to be the interesting part. All of this is just the setup. All right. So for options, we're going to have our values be low. Oops. Values are going to be low. What was that keyboard shortcut? After highlighting Shift Alt Arrow. Okay, let's try it. Shift Alt. Hey, that is useful. Yeah, do what Dev Puddle said and use that keyboard shortcut. I love it when I learn stuff on stream. That's always the funnest part. Low, medium, and high, and then our values inside of there are just going to be the text inside of there is just going to be low, medium, and high. Once we save it, now we can see that those values are available to us inside of the dropdown. Yeah, I'm going to push up the HTML over break. Don't worry, Lear. I will. Yeah, we're just building a ticket tracker. Nothing, it's not going to be super complicated. What I'm hoping is that y'all take this being very simple and then modify it to be useful for your employer as just kind of a fun, like, hey, boss, or a small business or a client that might want to track issues. Yeah. Just put your cursor at the end of whatever line you want to copy and do it. Oh, okay. All right, let's just try that. What is it? Alt Shift. Ooh, I like it. Thank you for that. I love a good keyboard shortcut. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Now, and I'll push up the HTML over the break. Don't worry. Yeah, the magic is magicking. Exactly. Now, that's part of why I stream too, because I feel like I learn as much as I show here on stream most of the time because y'all are smart. All right. So we've got our drop down, and then if we go back and look at the finished version, we're almost done. We need a box for assign to, and then a button for submitting the form. Obviously, I have it open twice for some reason. All right. So once more, we're going to have a form group for our assign to. So let me see if this works. I'm just going to, all right. Doop. Nope. Okay. I need to highlight. So I'll highlight the whole thing. I'm just playing with this now. Control C, Alt Shift. Yeah. All right. Cool. So I still need to move it, but that's all right. That's fun. Okay. Last thing is just that assignment box. So we're going to call it issue assigned to. Assigned to input. Input type is going to be text. Class is going to be form control. ID is going to be issue assigned to input. And the placeholder is just going to be something like enter person responsible, something like that. Okay. And then the last thing that we need is our button that's going to allow us to submit the form. So after the final div here, and remember to put your button, inside of your closing form tag. We can just add a button. And our button, what is the type of our button going to be? If this button is supposed to perform this action on our form, what is this button type supposed to be? Because buttons can have types, right? So what type am I going to use? Yeah, our button type is just going to be submit. Although in this case, we aren't necessarily going to be using the default action of a submit because we're just using local storage here. But our class is going to equal, now we're going to give it some classes here, again, that Bootstrap knows how to use. And our class is going to be button, BTN, and BTN primary. You can change the color of the button by changing the button class. Oh, and I need to put the actual button text, sorry. Add. There we go. So again, we have some nice default styling there. Hopefully that's visible behind my head. Yeah, it is good. Okay. But we could change this to be, I think, like secondary. I think that's one. Yeah, because it turned it gray. I think, what is it? Warning? That's another one. Yeah, so that turns it yellow. I kind of like the yellow, actually. I don't know about you. So I'm going to leave it yellow because I like it. Button, warning. Why not do, yeah. And so with I'm trying to go a little slower with like the Emmet for those that might not be familiar with Emmet. But yeah, you could also do something like whoops, sorry. You could also do just add your classes like this. You could do button dot btn dot like btn warning, something like that. And that would do it. That would add the classes automatically for you. So that's it. That is an Emmet shortcut that you can use, just like that as well. So you can add the tag name with dots between each of the classes, and that will automatically create that for you. Yeah, that's perfectly valid. Yeah, and it doesn't work for every tag, true, but I think that dot notation does work pretty well for all of the standard tags. Can you do a placeholder for the selector? I do think you can. I think you can specify which value you want to be like I think you're talking about like which value you want to be like the default value. Yeah, you can. I forget what it's selected. Yeah, okay. So it's like, so let's say we wanted like high to be the, I think it would just be like that, right? Yeah. So so what you can see there is after the value, I just typed the word selected. And then when I saved it, my drop down changed to have high be selected by default. And then I can still change it like normal. Yeah. So just add the word selected to whatever option you want to be the default. Otherwise, it'll just, always select the first one as the default. But you can just add selected here, and that will become the default. So, yep, absolutely. That's a great thing to point out. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So we've got our input form now. And the last thing we want to add here to our HTML, this is perfect timing because we'll have a break right after this. The last thing we want to add is essentially below this, we want to add a space where all of our tickets are going to go. So we want to add basically like a bucket for them, because as we add them, this is going to be essentially like a place where all those tickets can just start lining up. So we're going to kind of like a bucket, or I like to say bucket, but like it's like a container or a section for them. So below, make sure you get out of your form and get out of that top section. In here, we're going to add a few different containers. So I'm going to add another section here. And that section is going to have a class of row. Oops, I keep doing that. All right. If you, and Mavi says, if you let people submitting the issue put the priority, they're always going to pick high anyway, right? That is very true. Yes. I have a funny story about that. I'll try to remember to tell you all later. What should the title for the person to enter be? I'm not sure. What do you mean by title? What? Yeah. What do you mean by title there, Kismet? All right, so our section is going to be called a row, and then inside there we're going to go ahead and put a couple divs. Again, whether you use sections or divs is, come on, thank you. So I'm going to have a div here with a class of call dash large dash 12, and again, this is just I'm going to apply some default styling to whatever we put in here. And then finally, inside of there, we're going to have one more div. And this is actually going to be our container for our issues list. So we're going to give just no class on this one. We're just going to give it an ID of issues list. And we can just say this. Right? Oh, comments. Jeez. I've been doing too much JavaScript and not enough HTML lately. Trying to do comments wrong. All right. Wait, what is it? Okay, wait, hang on. I know this. There we go. Whew. All right. This will be populated by JavaScript. That's why it's good to practice this stuff. All right, so everything inside this container will be populated by JavaScript. So if I save it, obviously nothing changed, even though we added some styling here, because that styling won't become visible until we actually add content inside of this div. Yeah. No, that's why it's good to practice, like without all these, extra tools and extra, plugins and stuff. Just practicing some basics is good sometimes because you forget. Your muscle memory wears down and you forget. And then you might get to an interview and you're like, crap, I don't remember how to, I don't remember what tag I'm supposed to use. I don't remember how to make a drop down. I don't remember how to make a button, that sort of thing. And so it's good to practice this stuff. Yeah, well, and so in my day job, I work with SQL as well. And so in SQL, you can do comments. You can do comments a couple different ways, but the way you do a single line comment is with just a dash dash, which is what you saw me do first, because I was like, oh crap, wait, that's SQL. And then I tried to do it the way you do it with JavaScript, which is like that. And so I'm all turned around. Yeah, piece of shit says I've been using a VS shortcut for comments, so I forgot. Absolutely. But in an interview, you might not have that ability, right? They might be asking you to code in some kind of, browser-based environment that doesn't allow for any of those shortcuts. And so you got to remember this stuff. And so that's another reason why we're practicing it today, because it's good for all of us. First try? Yeah. Jazzy. Jazzy, I think there has never been a better redemption of that particular channel point reward. Jazzy redeemed. You forgot the comments again, and I literally did. I forgot the tag for HTML comments. So I tip my hat to you, my friend. MS Notepad coding. Yeah, right? I mean, you could. Who knows? It might say, hey, open up a Notepad window and build us something. Yeah. Yeah, and you can also do control slash, but again, you might not have that ability in your interview itself. All these shortcuts are awesome. They're great. I like them. But again, you might not have that ability in an interview. So yeah, every language uses a different symbol for comments, right? It's wild. And then, but we got the slash star, slash star, which you can use for, like, so in SQL that you can use slash star for multi-line comments. So if you want to comment out a whole block of code with one single comment, you'd use slash star and then close with star slash. So yeah, never forget buttons. Like live server. Yeah, you probably won't have the ability to use live server, in an interview. You might not even get the chance to test whether your code is working. It's nice for demos like this, so everybody can see it live, but yeah, you might not have that option. Okay, so essentially this is the end of our HTML. And again, I'll push this over the break. In fact, I'll push it right now. Open the terminal again. Whoops, I already had one open, I forgot. All right. Git add, git commit, finished, HTML, git push. All right, it's pushed. I'll drop the link to the repo here again in chat. There you go. Um, and with that, let's go ahead and take our break. This is a good stopping point, perfect stopping point, actually. And when we get back, we'll start working on hooking this up to some JavaScript. Um, Remembering how to use local storage to actually store these forms as objects inside of local storage, how to generate the unique IDs, um, how to build out the individual tickets to be shown on the HTML page. And so yeah, it should be good. Arwin says if they aren't using VS Code, I'm out of there. So I have heard that. I mean, not sure how true this is, but I've heard that sometimes even if the developers themselves use VS Code, they might not let you use it in interviews. Um, for example, in my interview for my current role, I was given some SQL code to review because I'm a SQL dev. I was given some SQL code to review, but it wasn't in like PL SQL Developer, which is like the client that we use to actually develop and run things. It was in Notepad. So they gave me some SQL to look at, but I had no way of, there's no way to run it to see what it was going to do. They just gave it to me in Notepad and said, all right, what does this do, without me being able to actually run it. So you might get that sort of a situation as well. Yeah, on paper, not on paper, but close, right? Yeah. All right, let's put 5 minutes on the clock. When we come back, don't forget, when we come back, we will have a kitten cam. Um, and yeah, because I already made the repo, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, when we come back from break, we'll have a brief kitten cam, and then we'll get into our JavaScript, and it will be a different kitten. So I have 3 kittens, and 3 people redeemed kitten cams. We did the last stream. So we had kitten number 1, then we'll have kitten number 2, and then a future stream we'll do kitten number 3. All right, 5 minutes on the clock. 5 minute timer. I should have like a hotkey for this. And we'll stop that and reset that. And I will see you all back here in 5 minutes with a kitten. So stick around. Here we go. All right, folks. We've got about a minute left in the break, so come on back. And I've got a little friend here that might want to meet you. All right, folks. Go ahead and get yourself a last drink of water and use the restroom, whatever you need to do. OMG, cats, please. Indeed. Yes, it is time for cats, or kittens anyway. Yes, baby. All right. Stopping the timer. 1 second left. And I'm going to switch my stream here, or my screen, and make myself big. Where you going, kiddo? Come here. People want to see you. I know. Did you say hi? Hello. All right. Come, hey, say hi to the camera. There we go. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you squeaking? I don't know if you all can hear that, but yeah, she's got a cute little squeak. Three colors, yeah. So she uses a what you call a torty pattern, um, and yeah, and cats with this pattern with calicos and torties, they are generally female. It's a genetic thing. Um, so this kitten cats with this pattern, you will generally find that they are female. So her and all of her tortie siblings, they are all female, as expected. Yeah, there is a such thing as a calico pattern in English as well. Calicos generally have more of a white base. I think I'm not 100% sure on the coat color distinctions, but yeah, calicos I think generally have more of a white base. But yeah, she's got brown, tan, and black sort of or dark brown markings with a little bit more white on the belly. um, Good. I'm glad you could hear the squeaks. Um, and also, too, David Shams brought up a really great point there in chat a little bit earlier. So this is not my kitten. This is a foster kitten. And so I work for I don't work. I volunteer for the local humane society fostering kittens. Um, and so every year there are dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of kittens that get born in the outside and get abandoned or get found by others. They may not be abandoned, but they are wild, and they get found by people and brought to the shelter. A lot of times, these kittens are very young and unable to care for themselves. And so the shelter simply doesn't have the resources to feed these kittens every 3 hours, every 4 hours, however often they need. Um, just doesn't have the resources to do it. And so they physically need volunteers to do it, to take these kittens and feed them. Um, and as David was saying, if anyone is in New York and can help with fostering kittens, we need help. And that's very true for a lot of foster programs all over the country. They just physically don't have enough hands in order to do it. And so, unfortunately, that means that some kittens do slip through the cracks, and just can't make it because of that. Um, and so, yeah, absolutely. If you can at all, please volunteer for your local rescue or shelter, that takes kittens to help them, you know, let these little guys thrive because they absolutely need it. Or if you can donate, that's helpful as well. But it's more of it's a lot. Oftentimes, it's more about they just need hands to help. Someone will adopt your post haste. Yeah, she has very good markings. I'm sure someone will. Um, do they hang out in the same room while you're streaming? No, they actually live in my bedroom, which is helpful when they're very little because I can get up, and if I hear them crying, I can get up. Oh, yeah, that's my ear, darling. It's my ear. Yes, hello. Ow, ouchie. That's my hair too. Thank you. Uh, yeah, she's going for my ear, I think. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's a little difficult to give them up. Sometimes it is, but you always know that you're going to be helping the next group very soon. And so, I've done it for several years now, and it's very rewarding every time. Yeah. How many do I take at a time? However many they want to give me. Usually it's however many are in a litter. So this litter had three. I've done as many as five. That's a lot. Uh, and sometimes I have their mom as well. Sometimes I take mama. If mama is really stressed out in the shelter and she just needs a quiet place to live for a while, that means you don't have to do very much of the work, but mama cat, gets to have a quiet place to raise her babies, and the babies get socialized. So they have names. No, not currently. That's actually a channel point reward. If you want to name a kitten, check out my channel points. I might be lowering the price of that a little bit. It's a little bit too spicy for a lot of folks. So I'm thinking about lowering the price. But yeah, that is a channel point reward that you can claim if you would like. Um, how is it when you have long hair? I mean, I don't normally, hold them up this close to my face. I just want to make sure that you all can see them. So I've never really had a problem with them pulling my hair or anything like that. Yeah, but yeah, this little kiddo is now finally eating wet food, so her paws smell like kitten food. However, she's still very attached to milk or to formula, so she needs to. Y'all need to tell her she needs to be a big girl and eat more wet food because she's old enough now. She's got all her teeth, so but she still wants formula whenever I offer her some. But she's like, "You're a big girl now. You don't need it anymore." Yeah, she's gonna have a very very pretty coat. Yeah, I do want to do a stream dedicated to just fostering questions, like how do I foster? What is it like? The good, the bad. What do I do? That kind of thing. So I'll have a stream dedicated to that at some point. But yeah, and then probably in the next stream, you'll will get to see her sister, the third kitten in the litter, um, to to help claim the third channel points reward that somebody redeemed for Kitten Cam. So yeah, in the next stream, you all probably get to see the last baby in the litter. Yeah. She's sticking her head into my neck. Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one right there. Yeah. All right. Say bye. Bye, sweet pea. Yeah. Say bye, sweet pea. Thank you. Well, if you think of a name, Scotty, it can be whatever you want as long as it's appropriate. Has to be like PG, but other than that, it can be whatever you want. How old is the kitten? She is it's a little hard to tell sometimes, but she is about 5 weeks, 4.5, 5. Yeah. So she's, old enough now to eat real food. I don't have to feed her anymore. She still likes it though, like I said. But yeah, she's definitely old enough to eat on her own and function on her own, and is starting to learn how to play, which is adorable. So try catch. Oh yeah, that would be a cool name. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put her back so we can continue on with our boring old code instead of watching kittens all day. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put her back, and we'll keep going on with our project here. But thank you for the folks that redeemed the channel points reward to go ahead and see her on stream. And like I say, we'll do that with the last kitten in the litter in a very very soon in a future stream. How about Meow and Wolf? Well, if you want to redeem a channel points reward in order to name one of these kittens, you just have to redeem the reward, and then you can name her whatever you want. Yep, but you gotta claim somebody's got to claim the reward first. They get dibs. Cat streams. Yeah, we're gonna have a foster stream here pretty soon. Where are you going, darling? Okay, all right. I'm gonna put her back before she climbs all over me. Uh, and I will see you all back here shortly. Shoulder cat. Yeah. Right now she's hair cat. She's inside of my ponytail. So, all right. I'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. All right. Let's go back to our app here that we're working on. There we go. My dog is back in the room. I always have to kick him out while I bring the kittens in because he gets too excited around the kittens. So he goes outside, kitten comes in, then kitten goes out, dog comes in. So it's a process, but we make it work. Yeah, leche is a nice name. Yeah, it means milk in Spanish. Yeah, that's a cute name. Tagging pets. Yeah, leche is cute. If somebody wants to claim, their channel points reward and use that name, they are welcome to do so. All right, so before the break, we did our HTML for this, and we can see that that's populated here. Although right now, obviously, it doesn't. Dulce is sweet. Yep, leche is milk. Dulce is sweet. Hey. Okay. All right. So we got two names. I love it. So two folks named kittens. So Real Scunny named a kitten Catherine Janeway, which I freaking love. So for those of you who know Star Trek, um, Catherine Janeway was the captain of Voyager in the series Star Trek Voyager, which was my first Star Trek series growing up. So I love that. And so I think we can go ahead and name the first kitten that I showed on the previous stream. We can name her Catherine Janeway, and then we can name this one Leche as number two here. That one that we just saw, we'll name her Leche. So perfect. There's only one more that needs a name, and you all will see her on the next stream or the stream after that, depending. Um, Battle Royale for the name. Dulce de leche, yeah, is what I'm putting in my cookie sandwiches. Yeah, those are both great names. I love them both, so that's perfect. Yeah, Janeway rocks, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Yep. Yeah, so there's one more kitten left to name, but you're welcome. I'll show her on stream first, and then you can pick a name that you feel like fits her well. So that's what we'll do. All right, great. I love it. Thank you all. Thank you for naming them. It makes it easier when they have names, um, because yeah, I've just been calling them like chocolate and what do I call them? Chocolate and caramel and nougat. But those aren't particularly creative, so I always love more creative names. Anybody have 10,000 channel points I can borrow? All right, let's go ahead and get into our JavaScript. I want to make sure that we can get all the JavaScript done before in the next hour and a half. So let's go ahead and get into that. I think we'll be able to do it. I picked a more lightweight app this time so that we could get everything done within 3 hours, and I think we'll be able to do that. All right. So our HTML is done, and we've assigned IDs to anything that we are going to need to link to, such as our issues list. We have that ID, so we can write some JavaScript and link to it. And we've got our ID for all of our input boxes, so we can grab those easily and drop them in. Cat number one and number two are great placeholders. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I give them like just depending on their appearance. Sometimes I'll just be like black and white kitten and orange kitten. Yeah, so that's why I ask you all for names, because I've been doing this long enough that I'm out of names. I don't got no more names. My brain is empty of names, which is why I have crowdsourced it to my stream viewers so that they will provide me with names. Now I do smell like kitten food because she had a bunch of it on her paws. So yeah, I've got the wonderful smell of wet food in my nostrils now. Which do I like more, JavaScript, Python, or Gorilla? So I really only know JavaScript. I don't know Python. So just JavaScript. But I am a SQL dev by day, so I like SQL. But yeah. All right, let me get my notes pulled back up here. Okay. Drunk Uncle Grandma has Drunk Uncle Grandma has redeemed another foster kitten name. So they have named the third kitten Sight Unseen. They have named the third kitten Spot the Data Scraper. All right, I'm up for that. Spot. I think once you see her, I think actually Spot will be a good name. She's got very like bold sort of dot markings, and so yeah, Spot's a good one. All right, cool. So that'll be Spot. You'll get to see Spot. What's today? Either on Wednesday or Sunday. That's when you'll get to see her. Oh, I didn't know that Python is named after Monty Python. Wow, interesting. I imagine when they go to their homes, their names are changed anyway. Yeah, but having a good name, having a creative or a fun name in the shelter can be a help, especially when they don't have very bold markings. So if you just have a little black kitten, or like a little black and white kitten, very standard markings, or just a little tabby kitten, those are they can tend to get overlooked because people want a little orange kitten or a little torty kitten or calico kitten. And so if they have a fun name that can actually really, really help them get noticed. So that's why, again, that's why I ask you all for fun names. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started on our JavaScript here. Get my notes pulled back up. Yeah, black cats are very cool. Yeah. I had a black cat for many, many years. They're super fun. Okay. So we're going to code out some issues here. Sorry, some functions here. We're going to keep things very basic. Just coding out some functions. So our first function, we're going to go ahead and call just fetch issues. And what this is going to do is it's going to just grab all of the issues that we currently have, fetch issues, and it's going to, just drop them onto the screen. So, if we look at the finished one, that's basically going to be, it's basically what's going to grab all of the issues from our local storage and drop them into that div that we set up earlier. So similar to what we would do kind of in our one of our controllers. If we were building this truly full stack, we would probably have a controller with something that does this, that would reach out to MongoDB and do this. But since we just have local storage, we're gonna do something similar but a bit different. So let's see, pull back up here. All right, so how do we get things from local storage? This is probably not something we've really done very much. What type of cat did Data have on TNG? I remember it being orange. Yeah, it was just like an orange tabby, I think. And its name was Spot. Yeah, so that's a good name too. Yep. The name of Data's cat on TNG was Spot. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to reach out to local storage and we're going to grab those issues and we're just going to drop them into a new variable here called issues. So how we can grab that from local storage is just json.parse, and then we just say, hey, local storage, that easy. Get item, local storage, get item, and inside of local storage we're going to be storing an object called issues, and so that's what we can just grab. So we're going to grab all this and just store it into a variable here called issues. And then we're going to have another variable here called issues list. Issues list, yeah, all right. And we're going to attach that to essentially just a get element by ID. We're just going to shorten that down. And what this is going to be attached to is that div that we set up in our HTML. We're just going to attach it to this, assign it to a variable. We've all done this before. And just make this shorter and easier to reference. So issues list is going to equal this entire get element by ID, and issues is going to be equal to just us fetching the list of issues from local storage. Okay. We must refer to the full name of Data Scraper. Void is the best black cat name. Yeah, I love it when people call black cats voids. Yeah. Black cats are cool. I love black cats. Like I said, I had one for over a decade. Yeah. Yep, they're fun. All right. So we have our couple variables here. Now let's go ahead and essentially what we're going to do is set the inner HTML of that div that we created. So this issues list div, we're going to set it just equal to empty. And since we're not using EJS or handlebars here, since we're not using a template, any kind of templating in order to build our HTML, we're going to need to, kind of fudge things a little bit as far as getting the styling right and loading in everything that we need to load in dynamically. So that's why we're going to do things a little using inner HTML instead of just like EJS or handlebars. All right, so we've got that. And in order to, so let's think about this. As we originally, we're going to start out with just an empty list of issues, right? When you first initialize this app, there's not going to be any tickets because nobody has submitted them yet. But as people submit tickets, that list is going to grow, right? So it's not going to have a fixed, there's not going to ever be a fixed number of tickets. That number of tickets is always going to change. So what is probably the best way for us to make sure that we are grabbing all of the tickets that are stored inside of our local storage every single time? So every single time, we reload this page, what's the best way for us to make sure that we're grabbing all of the tickets on the list? What's a way that we can do that? When you have an array, say, or an object or some iterable item of varying length, what's a way that we can make sure that we get all those items? Bomade says, I feel a bit lazy for hard coding stuff. EJS and React have spoiled me. Yes, that's why we're doing this, because we got to remember how to do the basics sometimes. Yeah, Civic Thunder. So we're just gonna use a loop. Yep. So essentially, we're to make sure that we get everything in the list. Once as that list continues to grow, we can just say, all right, for let I equals 0. Or I could just type it completely wrong. So one of my things here that I do a lot on stream is I mess up for loops. You may have noticed this, but I always seem to get for loops wrong no matter how many times I do them, and I don't know why. But let's hope. I think I'm going to get it. I'm going to see if I can get it right this time. I think I did them right last time, so I'll get there. But I don't know why. So I think that's right. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to loop through the entire, like we're pulling down the list of issues first, right? And then we're just going to loop through it, and we're going to do some stuff. So is issues going to be an array and not an object? Well, let's once we start creating the issues and saving them into local storage, let's do a console log, and we'll see what we'll just log that to the console, and we'll see what that looks like. All right. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm just going to assign a few variables here. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm pulling out each of the elements that are going to be stored inside of our inside of each issue object. Because if you remember, when we submit a form, essentially all of the things inside the form get packaged together and bundled up, right? They get bundled up into a single unit or a single object, and then they get passed to wherever we send them. And so in order for us to extract those elements, we're just going to need to make sure that we grab them out of that particular bundle of things, right? So in this case, if I want to grab the ID, I say issues I and grab ID. So that's going to loop through, and for each separate ticket, it's going to grab the ID, and then we're going to do something very similar for each element inside of our object. So we're going to have ID, we're going to have subject, description, severity, assigned, status. So subject, description, severity, assigned to, and status. All right. So that's going to pull each of those out and assign them into separate variables. Blip says, Would a for of loop work and just do issue dot property? Yeah, I mean, it probably would. I think that, this is the most basic type of loop, right? And there's newer, better ways to, probably implement this. Yeah. By default, I just tend to go to for loops but I really, yeah, I imagine you could probably refactor this and branch it out to do it more, uh, using more like something like for of or something similar. Okay. So, and then the last thing that I want to do is I want to just set up another quick variable to determine. So in my original app here, what I do is each time, let's say I'm just going to do like test, pop in a new issue here real quick, test. You can see that the issues that are already closed have a green label on them. I hope you can see that. The issues that are already closed have a green label, and then when we submit a new label a new issue that's open, that label is blue because that issue is not yet closed. And I just wanted a quick color tag that would change depending on the current status of the issue. So I'm also just going to do a quick status check here. So I'm just going to say, hey, status color is going to be equal to is going to depend on the actual value in status at that point. And this is gonna how we're gonna dictate what label we assign. What class we assign, and so Bootstrap will change the color of the label depending on whatever class we assign. So status color is going to equal. We're going to do a quick ternary here and check and see. Oops. Status equals, if the status is closed, then our label is going to have a class of label success. Again, that's just another Bootstrap thing built in. Label success. And if it's open, it's just going to have a standard label info tag, which is blue. So this will change each time we render the list depending on the current status of the item. All right, cool. Now we're going to kludge the hell out of this, so y'all are going to love it. This is going to be peak bad code, but I hope y'all enjoy this. So we're going to be assigning everything. Instead of using something smart like EJS or handlebars or something like that, we're just going to put everything as inner HTML, and we're going to be assigning each item in the list essentially by coding in the HTML tags as strings because we're cool like that. So enjoy. So we're not going to do that right just yet. Blip says I've gotten scolded for doing this before. Well, I ain't gonna scold you because I'm about to do it. Are you building the same project as the one to the right? Yes, we are. So our project currently looks like this. So we've gotten the HTML done, and what we're doing right now is we're building out the JavaScript so that we can build out the lower part here and have a dynamic list of all the issues. EJS Brazil says, where we're going, we don't need AJS. Yeah, and that's true. You don't, right? There's ways to do it without those extra tools. Are they excellent to know and great to use? Absolutely. But is it possible to do without? Yes, it is, as we are about to do ourselves. So, am I telling you to do this on the job? No, but it's a fun exercise to do without sometimes. You're right, I messed up so I'm going to change that real quick in HTML. I'm just going to update my label. I did that wrong when I copied and pasted. So let's see, let me find it. Description, that should be assigned to. Good catch. I apologize if somebody pointed that out earlier and I didn't see it. That's my bad. All right. I can code my view with no EJS or handlebars. I see where you're coming from. That's a great song. So before we fill all this in, but inner HTML works. Yeah, it absolutely does. Yep, it absolutely does. Before we fill this in, I'm just thinking about what order I want to do this in. Before we fill in all of our inner HTML, because this is going to take up some space on the screen, I'm going to comment this out briefly. We'll fill that in just a minute, but I want to code in the save issue function, which is going to which is going to essentially capture that form data and save it into local storage, because I guess I want to show you the parity between grabbing stuff from local storage and then saving stuff to local storage. So we'll fill this out in a minute as soon as we're ready to, and then we'll do the save function first, so we can actually take in some form data to display on the screen, and then we'll code out the HTML so that we can style it, and yeah, that should work. All right, so I'm going to comment that out for now, and then we can. I think we're done with this function for the time being. Done with that for the time being. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and add an event listener. And actually, I should probably do this up here. So what I want to do is I want to add an event listener, which is going to fire when we click that submit button, and call the save issue function. So it's going to go ahead and save stuff to our local storage. So I can say document get element by ID. We're going to grab that issue input form and add an event listener to it. And oops, dang it. So essentially on submit, so when someone clicks that submit button, we want the save issue function that we're just about to code. We want the save issue function to trigger. And that's going to submit that. It's going to package up that form data into something that we can save into local storage as an object. Is there a link to the demo? You want the demo or you want the repo? Because right now this is just running on my local server. I can give you a link to the repo so you can run it yourself. Well, I guess this isn't completed, but so I can give you a link to the code so far. There you go. All right, so now let's write out our save issue function. And again, this is going to capture all the data that's coming in from the form. And essentially what we're doing here is we're just taking in, this E is just basically saying, all right, everything, this is triggered by the submit button. So everything that's coming in from the form, we're going to take that in. But I guess it's not taking everything from the form. It's just triggering on the click. So on click, we're going to take everything in from the form, and we're going to assign it into some variables, and we're going to save those variables in an object, and then save those into local storage. Okay, so save issue is going to trigger on clicking that form submit button. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to assign our form data with a unique ID. And you might remember one of the things that we linked to in our HTML was something called chance. And so we can say let issue ID, issue ID is going to equal chance dot GUID. And what this is going to do is it's just going to generate an ID for us for a unique ID for our form data. So all this stuff that we're taking in, it's going to generate that for us. So again, we're going to have some of the similar issue subject. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to reach into each of the input boxes and we're going to grab their value at time of submission. So we can say document.getElementByID. I'm going to copy this. Get element by ID. Issues, make sure I get this right. Issue subject input dot value. So, and we're going to do the same thing for each of them. Whoops. Again, I know folks gave me that beautiful keyboard shortcut. I don't have it in muscle memory yet. I will get there, I promise. We're going to do this for each one. Let's see, each of the form items. So ID, subject, description, severity, assigned to. So we just need 4 of them here. This was issue. Make sure I get my labels right here. issue description. I'll just call this issue description. That's and issue description input. Third one is issue severity. And that was issue severity input. All right, and then the last one was issue assigned to. Assigned to, and we'll grab that from issue assigned to input, I believe. Okay, so that's just grabbing each of those values from those input boxes. And then the last thing we're going to do here is we're just going to set the issue status to open by default. Issue status is going to be open. And now, now that we have all these set, and we've grabbed all these values, we can actually create the object that we're going to be storing in local storage. So this is going to be an object. And so we can just say let issue equal, and then some of this is going to be a little repetitive, but essentially I'm going to start creating my key value pairs. So issue is going to, so ID is going to be issue ID. And you can do this without assigning the variables first. I think it's just easier to read this way. ID, subject, oh, not equals, sorry, key value pairs. Got to remember that. When you're building an object, key value pairs have the colon. So another good thing to practice. All right, so that's going to be issue subject. Description is going to be issue description. And severity is going to be issue severity. And assigned to is going to be issue assigned to. And the last one is status. That will be issue status. Okay. All right, so this is the actual object that we're going to be storing inside of our local storage. And now that's what we're actually going to do. So we've created our object, and now we just need to store it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to check and make sure. Essentially, so what we're going to do is we are going to, first thing we're going to do is going to check and see if we already have a list of items in storage. So does there already exist a list of items in storage? If so, we can just write this item to it. If that list, so if Joe Schmo just opened the app for the first time on their machine, well, there's not already going to be a list set up. So what we're going to do, if that is null, if there is no existing list, we are going to create an empty array to store these objects. So we're going to do some nested storage here. We're going to have an array of issues, and then each issue is going to be stored in it as individual array items. So to answer the question earlier, essentially we're going to have an array that contains multiple objects, which is something we see fairly often in APIs, right? Sometimes in reverse, depending on the data structure. Can I push to GitHub? Yeah, I can push to GitHub if you want me to. Just say building functions. Okay, there you go. All right, so that should be pushed. So if you got turned around, you can definitely go to the GitHub and copy this down. All right, so this is going to be the individual issue, and then we're going to store each issue inside of a larger array, which is then going to be stored in local storage. So let's do that now. Does that make sense? Hopefully that does. Feel free to stop me if there's questions. So again, similar to how we pulled things from local storage in the first place, we just did local storage.getItem. and we were able to, we'll be able to retrieve this entire array that we're about to build. Local storage.get item. We're gonna check that and say, all right, if local storage dot get item is null, so if there is no existing array of items, if this person is opening the app for the first time and trying to add a ticket, if that's null, then we want to set up that empty array. So we generate that array, and then we go ahead and push this object, the current issue, to it. So you just say issues dot push our object to it. So we push to it first, and then the last thing we need to do in order to save it is we say local storage dot set item. And what this is going to do, let's see if I hover up. Yeah. So, and so what this is going to do is going to basically like save it and set the value. So it says set the value of the pair identified by key to value, and creates those key value pairs. So in this case, we say, all right, we're putting it in the issues array here, and we stringify the content, because if you're saving in local storage, at least from what I understand, everything has to be strings. So we have to stringify it ourselves, since we're not, using any kind of tool to do this. We have to do it manually, so we use json.stringify. But yeah, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that if you're storing in local storage, everything must be a string. So that's what we're doing here. We're stringifying it, essentially kind of saving it in local storage. Yeah. And so that's what we do if we're creating this list for the first time. We push it. And actually, this is a little bit repetitive, but if the list already exists, if this person is, if we've already used the app once and we're just submitting another ticket, we can just do, so yeah, I'm looking at this now and I'm like, this needs to be refactored, but that's all right. It'll work. Issues equals, we just json.parse, essentially this. Baddie's writing bad code. So if it already exists, we just grab the existing list of issues. So what we're doing here is we're grabbing it from local storage. We're turning it into an array, so we can use an array method on it, right? We grab it out, we parse it, parse the JSON, turn it into an array, so we can just do issues.push, because, push is an array method, right? We push our new issue to it. And then essentially what we do is we restringify it and save it back to local storage. Yeah. All right, so then it's just going to be local storage.set items. Yeah, so the first thing I'm probably going to do is refactor this so it's not repeating the same thing twice, but for now we'll just leave it as is. I don't necessarily trust myself to refactor live on stream, because that's if I'm talking and refactoring at the same time, it can sometimes go badly. So all right, so what that's done essentially is if there are no existing issues, we create the array. If there are issues, then we pull it down, parse the JSON, push the new issue to it, and restringify it and save it back into local storage. Okay. And also the last thing that we want to do too here is, after we save a new issue, we want our form. So this form here, like after I type something in here and I click add, I want my new issue to be saved to the issue list, right? And I also want the form to reset. So we can do that pretty easily just by saying document get element by ID, issue input form, and dot reset. So that'll reset the form. Nope, not that. Reset. There we go. Reset. That should reset the form. So each time we add something, the form gets set back to default values. So empty values. Okay. And then after we add something new to local storage and save it, we want to make sure that that update is reflected in our display. So once we save a new item, that's all well and good. It's sort of similar. We're kind of doing sort of similar to like request response, right? So if we were doing this truly full stack, we would be sending a request to save something up to our database. It would save it in the database. And then we also want to make sure that that change is reflected in the user interface. So next thing we can do is just call fetch issues, which will just fetch the issues again, style them, display them, etc., etc. And then the last thing we want to do is just say prevent default on that button. So remember, this is triggered by a prevent default. So this whole function is triggered by a button click. So somebody clicks the submit button, and by default, that submit button is going to try to submit something like up to a server, right? Well, we don't have one. We're just pulling everything out manually, stringifying it manually, all that stuff. So we just prevent the default behavior of the button by saying prevent default to stop it from trying to do anything we don't want it to do. So that was a lot. Go ahead and save that. So that's how we would save an issue to local storage. And now we can kind of see the different components of each object that we're saving. So any questions on this before next thing I think I want to do is actually finish fleshing out the fetch so that we can style the HTML and actually test this out and make sure that it's working, so that we can, start saving things and then pulling them down and displaying them here in the list down below. So any questions? I know it's about time for another break. So what we might do is, we finish this function here. Why is your button yellow? Mine is blue. So Bootstrap has Bootstrap has basically some built-in styling, and you change that styling by changing classes. So what I did just for funsies on my button here in the form is I changed it from, what did I call it? Button primary, I think was the original class. I changed it to button warning because I wanted it to be yellow. So you can Google Bootstrap buttons and see what types of labels you can apply to your buttons in order to change, and how that will change the color. So you can even change like the text color, that sort of thing. You can change text formatting just by adding classes to your button. So if I take this off, we can see that, it essentially removed all that fancy styling. Add it back, and the styling comes back. I really hope my questions make sense to me when I sober up. Or your comments. Hey, that's a good use for comments, making sure that you remember what you did later on when your state of mind has changed. Danger makes it red. Yeah, so yeah, you can change the color. It can be red, blue, whatever you would like. Yep. I think it was like info or something. I don't know. Yeah. Button info, and then, but I like the gold of the warning, so we'll do that one. Yeah. Danger button. Okay, so that was how we save something to local storage. We pull it out of the form, we essentially package it up in an object, and we save it in local storage by making sure it's a string first, and then dump it in there. Okay, good deal. Yeah, you can check the Bootstrap official documentation. There's tons of tutorials out there for it. So Bootstrap has been around for so long that there's tons of reference guides and everything, so you can see exactly how to style stuff, however you want to style things, which is kind of nice. Okay, so that was the save function, probably the most complicated one. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take a break because it's time to do that. And then what we do when we come back is we'll actually set up our styling so that all of our issues that we pull down from local storage will appear in this list down below, just like this, fully styled, just like we see here. I'll pull this over a little bit. They'll be, pulled down, fully styled with the buttons and the icons and the tags and all the formatting, just like magic. Hey, Owen Codes, nice to see you. I'm doing well. I hope you are as well. All right, and again, let me go ahead and push to GitHub one more time. so everybody can catch up. I don't know why I keep clicking new terminal. Min finished save function, and I'll do a get push. All right, so this should allow everybody to get caught up. Minimize that down. All right. Yeah, and if that's a good point. If anybody wants a link to my GitHub, you can do exclamation point GitHub in chat, and I can give you a specific link to the repo here too. We'll have that. And so let's go ahead. This was so this save function, this is the most, like, we're not like I say, we're not going crazy here today. This was the most complex function that we're going to do. The rest are all fairly straightforward. When we get back from the break, we'll do all of our styling so that we can populate this inner HTML with the entire list of issues without using EJS or handlebars, and just doing all the styling as strings, which is a fun little exercise. And then the other two things that we need to do are essentially hooking up our remaining two buttons. So changing the status from open to closed, and then also the delete button, which will obviously delete the ticket entirely rather than just changing the status. Okay, thank you for the follows, folks. We'll take 5 minutes here, and we should finish up in plenty of time. So I would imagine we probably got about another hour on this, and then we will be done, and you'll have your functioning app using local storage, which you are welcome to refactor as much as you would like. All right, show it to your boss as a prototype. All right, I'll see you back here in 5. Thank you for the follow, Owen. All right, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, so come on back when you are ready. Fill up your water glass, use the restroom. As Blip says, speed running break, toothbrushing any percent. Yes, absolutely. Brush your teeth. That's a great idea. Don't forget to floss. Yes, absolutely. See how much floss. I don't know if you can floss in 30 seconds. That might lead to some accidents or injuries, but yes, do floss when you have time to do so. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the timer. So I've actually got some I've got like a permanent retainer like on my lower teeth and on the inside, and that always makes flossing a something of a challenge in that area. So yeah, flossing for me always takes a little longer than expected. I'm going to turn on a light because it's a little dark in this room. So give me 1 second. All right, there we go. Yeah, flossing ribbon, much for your injuries. It's so annoying you have to use those special threaders, yeah, to get under dental work. Yeah, I think Scotty might be referring to the same thing. I use that, yeah, dental. It's like floss, but it has like a stiff part at one end, and so it's not like that those plastic needles that you have to try to thread through. It's just got a nice sort of a rigid end on the floss, and I find that works really well, at least for my permanent retainer on the bottom. So, dental tips. That's what you come here for, right? You come here for the dental advice. Yeah, water picks are good too. I just have a hard time with like jets of water going straight into my mouth. Yeah. All right, so we did our save function. Now let's actually see if we can populate our HTML. So I'm going to make this small for a minute. Why aren't those grouped together anymore? That's lame. Yeah. Okay, whatever. Come for the dental advice, stay for the kittens and code. Yeah, we code occasionally. Usually it's just kittens and floss. I mean, yeah. So yeah, that's what I don't like, Drunko, is the plastic needle things. Yeah. The more you know. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and code out this inner HTML. And what we're going to be doing is we're essentially going to be plugging in each of the elements from our issues object. We're going to be plugging those into directly into some HTML. So I'm going to remove this comment here. And get my notes pulled up because I need notes for this. All right, so the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is set up a div. So we're going to be putting this HTML directly in strings just so we can drop it straight into just drop it straight into that div that we created earlier. So we're going to have a sub div here, and I'm gonna have to do this kind of manually, but that's okay. We can live. Um, so we're going to create a div with a class of well. And what this means is how Bootstrap is going to interpret that is kind of just like a slightly recessed box with a little bit of a drop shadow. So it's going to be like a slightly indented or recessed box where our ticket information is going to sit. So that's what we're doing here. So we create our opening tag, and then inside of that, we're going to go ahead and put, this could be whatever you want. It could be a P tag or a span or whatever you like, but I'm going to use an H6 because I'm fancy. And that's where we're going to drop in our issue ID. So issue ID is going to go there, and we can simply insert the ID inside of the tag this way, and then close the tag. No, we don't get to use Emmet here. We got to do everything manually, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing. You got to know how to just do this stuff, right? It's a nice challenge. Maybe I'm just a, what is it? What is that word? Masochist? Is that what it is? Um, typing out all my tags by hand. So what this is going to do is it's going to create this line where we have the ID. Um, and then next below that, we're going to go ahead and have um, essentially our status label. So this right here. So we can just put this into a p tag, and inside of that we can have a span and give that a class of label, because that's Bootstrap's going to interpret that and create a label. And what we're going to do in there is drop our status color variable that we created earlier. So if you recall, we created a variable called status color, and a specific class that we assign is going to depend on what the status of the ticket is. Is it closed or not? And that's going to determine the color of our tag, whether it's blue or whether it's green. So label plus whatever the status color was, and then we can close that tag. Now, don't forget to put a space after the word label, or if you're using template literals, you can just put it in a space, but you will need a space between those two tags, otherwise the class will not work. All right, do that, and then close our tag. This is kind of like EJS a little bit. It's almost like we're doing EJS, except we're just doing it in our JavaScript instead. So it's very similar. Status color, and then we add status. To essentially what we're doing here is we're creating the inner text of our span. So we have our span tag here, and our status is going to be the inner text of that label, close, open, whatever it is. And then we just close our span and our p tag. I'm missing a close paren. No, actually, I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm actually not. Because what we're doing here is when you set up a class inside of an HTML tag, you need to surround it in double quotes. And so this right here, you can see the opening and closing double quotes. This is the entirety of that class label. So I think I'm okay, because I'm enclosing my tags as strings, but I also need the double quotes to signify the class inside of my HTML tag. So it's a little confusing, but I think we're okay here. All right, so we did status, and then we just close our tags as strings. So we're mixing variables and strings here. And you can do this with template literals as well. I tend to default to the classic concatenation, but you could definitely use template literals here too. Yeah, got it? Okay, good. Well, yeah, it looks like we're okay. So this is just creating that span. It's setting it as a type of a label, which Bootstrap will turn into a label, and we are assigning it a specific color based on the status, whether it's closed or open. And then the inner text is going to be whatever the current status of that label is. So that's all we're doing there. Probably looks more complicated than it is. Concatenation, indeed. Yes, exactly. All right, so we've set that up. And then now essentially we're just plugging in all the various elements from the issue itself. So next up, we're going to have an H3 here. Oops. Be consistent about my going to be consistent about my quotes here, single versus double. So subject is going to be next, and then we'll have our closing tag here. Just have that as an H3. Might be an H4, but all right. And then next we'll have our description, and I'm just going to drop those in paragraph tags. Makes as much sense as anything. P, and then add our description. Let's see, description. Yep, description. And closing tag. All right. And I think what we'll do is I might just leave it here for now. I kind of just wanted enough in here to make sure that it's going to, that we have enough to check against. So I'm going to leave it here for now. We need to add more things. We need to add all the buttons. We need to add the icons and all that stuff. But before we make this too crazy, I want to make sure that everything is functioning the way we expect. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, add a console log here. So whenever we run fetch issues, console log, console log, just issues. I'm going to log the entire JSON object so we can see what it looks like in the console. And then also, show the issue list, hopefully in the window, assuming there's no errors, but no guarantees. Would it be cleaner to do this with template literals? It depends. Everybody has a preference. It I mean, maybe because you'd only need like one set of quotes like surrounding your entire string rather than mixing single and double quotes. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes for me anyway, like the $ and bracket notation of template literals can get a little cluttered when you have a lot of them. But I mean, really personal preference. It works either way. This is how like I would concatenate things in like SQL or Excel, which I'm really used to. So it's kind of how I see it. But that's just my background personally. So you might have a different take on it. I miss Emmet. It's so slow. That's why I feel the need for speed. I know, right? Once you've done it with Emmet, it's a lot slower. Missed ending div. Oh yeah, that's right. Good call. Since I need to put my close tag on the div. Yep, good call. Think, yeah. So I'll do it on a new line for now because yeah, I didn't add all the elements yet, so I forgot my close tag. Div. All right. Close our div. That we should have open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close. Okay, that'll be enough for now, and then we can add the other elements in a minute. All right. So now let's test this out, but there's one more thing that we have to do in order for it to work. So we've set up our save so we can add new things. And at the end of our save, it calls fetch issues. However, right now, we have nothing that's actually fetching the issues when we first like open the app. So let's say I had added some tickets and I closed my browser window, but because of local storage, they'll stick around. And so I open my browser window again to check my tickets, but they won't show up unless I call fetch issues. Why did I put a space there? Unless I call fetch issues when the page first loads. So we need to add one more thing to our HTML to essentially just call fetch issues as soon as the page loads, which we can do pretty easily by just in the body, we can just say on load, load. We can call our fetch issues function. So on load, call fetch issues. Save that one more time. I think we're good. Okay. Can you do a stream turning Bub into a full website? Yeah, I agree with Rascal. What can you elaborate on that a little bit more? What do you think is missing? Because I mean, it technically is a full website. It has all the functionality. It has multiple pages. It has a back end, a front end. This code is wild. I know, right? It's hot garbage, but it works. And it works using local storage, which I think is really fun. I don't know. I just like doing stuff like this. It's just like bashing stuff out. Doing something that's outside of the normal way that we do things makes me happy. So let's see. All right. Let's see if we can add something. So just random junk. Actually, I'm going to add the same issue. So I am getting an error. I was trying to run my application and it does not work. There's an error message, but I didn't read it. That's my error. So we'll put it at low severity. We'll assign it to Mayan Wolf. All right. Let's see if we can add it. Let's see what we get. Hey, check it out. All right, you probably can't see that because it's behind my head. But there you go. Huh. That's friggin' rad. So that works. Cool. Perfect. First try? Yeah, absolutely. It was first try. That was a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a push since that worked. I'll do a push. So if you've gotten yourself in a bind trying to follow along, you'll get to a working state of the app. Also, but before I do that, one other thing I want to test is can I close this tab and kill the server, and then restart the server and have it still work? So let's try that. All right, I close the browser window. I'm going to kill the port. I'm curious to see if this will actually work. Yeah. All right. Hey, it works. Yeah. So I killed the server. I closed that window. I killed the server. I restarted the server, reopened the window, and my local storage is still working. First try again. Yeah. Yep. Double first try. It's pretty good. And our formatting looks good. Bootstrap is interpreting everything correctly. It's interpreting all of our janky inner HTML correctly. Yeah. All right, I'll push this so you can pull it down if you want. We still need to add a little bit more to our inner HTML. And then once we add our buttons and stuff, we need to hook up a couple little teeny tiny functions to flip the status and to delete the item if we need to. All right, so any questions on this right now while I do this push? Push this back, make it smaller again. So we know it's working now. So git add, git commit. We'll call this what do we call this? Save and fetch functions working. All right, and git push. All right. So yeah. So the latest version is now available on the repo. You're welcome to pull it down if you got stuck. Hey, no worries, Star Fox. Thank you. Yeah, I love doing this. Is what I do. I love doing this. It's fun. It's fun to just like get janky, and just bash stuff out every once in a while. Just figure out different ways to do things, right? That are not the way you might normally do it. Mine did not add the issues at the bottom. Yeah, so that can be for a variety of reasons. You make sure that you're calling make sure that you're calling, what do we call this? Make sure that you're calling fetch issues both on load. So in the body, you want to add a quick check your HTML to make sure on your body tag you have an on load where you're calling this function immediately on page load. And then at the end of your save issues function, make sure that you are also calling it there. Because after you save an issue, then you want to hit local storage again and pull down the list of issues so that they will display. I think my inner HTML is bad because nothing happens when I submit. Yeah, feel free. I mean, this is, feel free to hit up the repo and feel free to hit up the repo and just, copy this down and see if it works after that. And you can also, I think we did a console log too. Did we do? Yeah, so we did a console log here. Let me pull this over again. Don't forget, we actually did a console log so you can see what it's pulling down. And you can make sure that when you submit your form, you can do this console log in your fetch to make sure it actually was saved. So just add a console log inside of your fetch issues function, like after you declare the initial variables, just add a console log there, console log the issues object, so you can make sure that stuff is actually getting stored and then retrieved from local storage. So we can see that here. It seems to be working just fine. And as we add more things, it will add to this array. So essentially what we'll end up having is an array with a bunch of objects in it. So, all right. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of the console log method of troubleshooting. If you're not getting an error and something's not working, then just console log the crap out of it until you until you figure out where it's going wrong. It's not the most sophisticated way of debugging, but I enjoy it. All right, let's keep adding to our inner HTML now that we know that this stuff is working. Let's just keep adding more things. So we've done our description. So in front of my closing div here, after the description, let's see, we did subject, we did description. Oh, I gave you a good idea? Awesome, that's rad. Yeah, go for it. Console log is how I debug Code Wars. Oh yeah, 100%. I do all of my Code Wars. So I do all of my Code Wars in VS Code. And I have Code Runner installed, so this little extension up here in the right, and so I can console log things straight in VS Code. And then I confirm the answer is correct. I run all the test cases in VS Code, and then I copy it into Code Wars and submit it. So That's how I do it. I'm sure that's not how everybody does it, but that's how I like to do it. So after the description, what we want to do is we want to add our little icons for severity and the person that it is assigned to. Is that, sorry, there's a noise outside. I think it's just my neighbor. It's like a banging sound. Yeah, I think it's just my neighbor. I'm spying. You got it working. Woohoo! Good job. All right. I grew up in a very like rural area. And so now I live in like a very like close sort of suburban area. And so I'm still like, sometimes I still get like a little spooked by just the regular outside sounds of neighbors and things because I'm not really used to it. But then I go back to my parents' house, and if I spend time there, it's so quiet. Like at night, it's dead silent, and then that freaks me out too because it's way too quiet at night. Like there's no sirens, there's no cars going by. It's just completely silent. So it's weird. All right. So after the description, we want to add an icon for our little clock here. I don't know if you can see that behind the chat, but it's just a little clock icon, and then the current status, and then a little person icon, and the person it's assigned to. So, Urchin says, "I love the rural silence." Yeah, it really is. It deserves its own name. It's not regular science silence. It is rural silence, and it is dead silent. Yeah, except for occasionally like we get, I don't know about where you live, but where my parents live, they actually have like coyotes and stuff that they hear regularly. So you get them yipping and yelping at night, which is kind of cool actually. All right, so we're gonna give this. So we're gonna use some built-in icons here. We're gonna use glyph icons, glyphicons. So instead of like Font Awesome or something like that, we can just use these glyph icons. So our class is for our span here, so sort of similar to how we would assign font awesome icons. We're just going to assign a glyph icon here, time, inside of our tag here, and then we can close our span. All right, and then next to that, right directly next to that, we want to put our severity. So this is the thing that we're pulling from inside of our issue. Whatever that severity is, low, medium, or high, we want to show that directly next to the little clock. And then just pop a space in there. So we have a little bit of a separation between the severity level and the person. And then again, we're going to have another glyphicon. And that'll be glyphicon user. Maybe it's glyph icon, but I like glyphicon better. Okay. And I think I'm missing an opening space. Yeah, there we go. Opening quote there. All right. Close that con user. And after that, we can just simply add assign to put the person's name, assign to, and then close our paragraph. Okay, so that should do the second line. So we can probably test that real quick. Save that, make sure I got it right. Yeah. All right. So after I've done all that, now I have the little clock icon, the priority, and the person icon and who it's assigned to. Perfect. All right. And then the last thing we want to add are our buttons. Thora says, I currently work on a big project in Java, which is for 10 years, and still use console log method. That's good to hear, Thoris. Yeah, good to hear that it's still a perfectly reliable method of debugging, even for experienced folks. Lear says, I'm reversed, grew up urban, now I'm in the burbs. I love it. Yeah, I currently live in the burbs. And I love it too. I thrive in urban and suburban environments. I was really bored growing up in the country, like bored out of my skull all the time growing up in the country. So I like living in this type of environment. My parents are very uncomfortable in this type of environment. They do not like it. Too many people, too much going on. So to each their own, I guess. All right, so did that. Now let's add our buttons. Um, now we're just going to essentially add um, a link button. So not like a true like button tag. We're just going to do an anchor tag and then give it a class of button so it'll get button styling. So that's kind of the nice thing is that, we'll just have an anchor tag. We're going to link it, uh, have an anchor tag, and we're just going to give it a class of button so that Bootstrap will format it like a button. No, actually, we don't need Font Awesome here, Blip. We're going to use Glyphicon. Yeah, we don't need to link to Font Awesome here. Yeah. Okay. So button, which is going to be an anchor tag. Again, we got to type it out manually because it's a string, but href. We aren't linking to anything right now. You could have it, if you wanted to flesh this out a little bit more, you could have it linked to, another page or something like that. But for now, we're not going to assign it any link. We're just going to give it a class of button and then button warning. All right. And then on click. So when this link is clicked, what we want to do is we're going to call a function, which we're just about to write, called set status closed. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass into that function, we're going to pass in the ID of the item that we want to close. So inside of that, we're going to pass in the item of the ID that we want to close, and then that will delete it from local storage. Let's make sure I get this right. That's okay. I think, is that one too many? Might have done that wrong, but let's see if it works. Except getting the little squiggly line, so probably means I have a bad. I'll check it in a minute here. Probably means I have a bad quote somewhere. All right, let me double check. So, okay, and then, nope, that's fine. It's all good. All right, I just needed to close my last quote. Perfect. All right, and now we can kind of copy this and just add it in for the next button, like that. And this next button is going to be for actually deleting the issue. Sorry. This one here is for flipping the status from open to close, and the next one is going to be just for deleting it entirely from local storage. Yeah, thank you, Arwen. Yep, you're exactly right. The sorting hat put me in glyph icon. Nice. I like it. All right. So for this one, we're going to change this. The class is going to be button danger, which I love. Danger button. If you want adventure, click the danger button. All right. And this one is going to be on click. We're going to have a function called delete issue. Like that. And again, we're going to pass in the ID of the issue we want to delete. And the inner text of this button is just going to be delete. All right. So let's make sure that looks okay. That should be all that we need. Finally, we're done. And let's see. So, don't see my buttons yet. Oh, I don't have a plus. I didn't have a plus here. I should do it. There we go. I just forgot a plus after my closing paragraph tag here. So just forgot to concatenate that. And now we can see that I have my close and delete buttons here. They're the appropriate color. They change color when I hover over them. So Bootstrap is applying the appropriate, styling here. I've got my nice icons. I probably should put a space there, but that's okay. And now if we just do a quick inspect on this, we'll see how the HTML actually looks. So yeah. So we can see that all of our styling is being applied appropriately. All that stuff that we hard coded is just being applied, looks good as regular HTML. Paragraph tags, H3, our status, assigned user, all that stuff. And our button looks good too. And we can see that it's actually already pre-populating, what we would pass in when we click on the button. It's just going to call set status closed, and it's going to pass in of the ID of the item that we want to close. Same for the delete function as well. So it's all ready to go. Once we have this function coded out, it'll take in the ID, the unique ID of the item we're trying to close, and then just modify it in local storage as appropriate. So yeah, you can do the same thing on your version. Once you've coded all this out, all that inner HTML crap, you can just simply run it and do an inspect and make sure that everything looks okay in your HTML. Okay, so we did that. That was probably the hardest part. Now that we've got all the styling in place, and we can list out all of our issues, let's go ahead and just really quickly code out the set status closed and the delete issue functions as well. These are very short, not too hard to do. We're just essentially pulling down. So for the set status closed, we're essentially just pulling down the specific object out of our list of issues that we already have in local storage. We flip the status for the object, and then we just simply resave it back into local storage with the changed status. So really not too complicated. We'll just create a quick function here. Set status closed. And then again, we're passing in the ID of the specific object that we want to change. So that's what it's expecting. Whoops. ID. And again, we can just say, I'm just going to grab this from up here. Issues is going to be the full list of issues from local storage. And we can just loop through it until we find the specific ID that we want. And again, you could use a different type of loop for this. I just need all the practice I can get with for loops because for some reason I tend to screw them up. So this is me using a for loop, but you can, do it in another way if you prefer. Issues length I++. Oh, and I should do a push too. I'm sorry. So that folks who don't want to type out all that inner HTML stuff. So I'm going to do a quick push. Oops. Finished list styling. All right, there you go. If you're still following along, you can grab all of the inner HTML strings from there. All right. No worries, Dev Puddle. Yeah, sorry, I didn't. I was gonna push after I did that. I apologize, but yeah, thanks for the reminders there. Okay, so now we're pulling down our list of issues. We want to find the specific item that we want to flip the status on. So we can just loop through, find the item, flip the status to closed, and then resave it back into local storage. Point redemption idea, push code. Yeah, I might change that my channel ports reward for comments. I might actually change that to you forgot to push or something like that, because the comments thing was back when we were doing a lot of just like really basic code exercises before we started using GitHub. So yeah, that's an old reward. So I think I'm going to change it. All right, so we can say here just if the ID of the issue we're currently on. Oh, sorry. If issues so the issue if the issue we're currently on, if the ID matches the ID that we're passing in, then flip the status. So essentially just reassign the status. Dot status equals closed. All right. So we flip the status, and then what we need to do is we've only really done that locally, right? We essentially we pull all this information out of local storage, we turn it into an array so we can manipulate it like one. We do we change that status, and then we stringify it again, and we shove it back up into local storage. So that's what we're going to do here. Just put it back, set item, um, set our item back into local storage, JSON, stringify, issues. So just restringify it with the change. And then at the end of that, we can just call fetch issues again to essentially just reload the list. And if we were doing this with React or something, we could do it so it doesn't have to reload the page. It could just reload that part of the page. But in this case, we're not. So it is going to reload the whole page when we call fetch issues. Okay, there we go. That should be fine. So let's go ahead and test if we can flip this status. So I'm going to drag this across again so we can see it. All right, I think that should be visible. Yeah, good. We can see it. Okay, let's see if it works now. If I click the close button, the status should flip. Hey, yeah, it does. So two things happened there. The status was flipped, and the color of the label was changed from blue to green. And if I were to do, let's see, I think I should be able to see in the console that the status is also changed here in our array. Yeah, so status in our array now is closed. So it was flipped successfully and saved in local storage. Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So we're able to set our close status here. What is the slightly different results? Undefined. Okay, so you might check your I click close an issue. Wow, okay. Oh, I think I know what may have happened. I think I know what may have happened. I think you kind of maybe put yourself into I think you maybe got your the scope of your loop slightly wrong. So make sure that your set is outside of your for loop. I think that's what you may have done. Just guessing. So yeah, check the scope of your for loop here and make sure that you're not doing something repeated, like setting it repeatedly. Maybe, I don't know. It's just a guess. I'm gonna use that code for work. Yeah, absolutely. Close all the things. Indeed. I'm the typo king of the world. I'm also good at finding them by necessity. All right, let's finish out the last. Let's finish out the last function for just deleting an item, which is even simpler. And then we can do some troubleshooting. I'll do another push, a last push, and then we can do some troubleshooting for folks if they need it. It's really the last function here for delete is very similar. Again, we're gonna pull the stuff down. We're gonna cut out the specific item that we want to delete, and then we're gonna just save it back. So function delete issue, and again, we're gonna be passing in the ID what we want to delete. And we can just say, again, we can pull this down. And again, we can have another loop here. So I'm just going to copy the loop as well. Oops, 4. There we go. So now this time, if the ID of the issue that we're on equals the ID of the issue that we passed in, instead of setting the status to close, we actually want to delete it. So if I have an array, and I want to remove something at any point inside the array, how might I be able to do that? It's not taking it off the end or taking it off the beginning. If I want to take it from somewhere in the middle, what's a way that I could do that? Yoink a la Leon. Yeah, absolutely. Is it a yoink or is it a yeet? Yeah, so not sure why the errors aren't showing. Yeah, so I mean, I would console. So I agree with Rascal. I would console log at various points. So I would console log the issues object to see if it's being stored in local storage, and it's being added to as you add things. Yeah, just add some strategic console logs if you can. Yeet is give, yoink is take. Okay, so in this case, we want to delete something. So yeah, I guess you're right. I guess we are yoinking it. Yeah. So the official, official vocabulary here is yoink. But if we're talking about array methods, we're gonna want to use. Okay, so we need a tiebreaker here. So we've got a splice from Ryan. Arwen says slice. Um, yeah. So Ryan's saying one thing, Arwen's saying the other. So what's the right one? Yeah, we could also do a filter. Sure, absolutely. That's another one. Yep. Yeah, so filter would work too. I'm using splice for this. That's just what I think of first, but filter is great as well. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to use splice because essentially we're going to take the array, break it in half at the particular point where we are, take out that item, and then stitch it back together. Blip says, I support Ryan because we share a name. Solidarity. Yeah, but yeah, filter would work too. Absolutely. So I'm just going to do that. We're splicing it at the current index, cutting it in half, extracting that item, and then smashing it back together. So that should do that. All right, I'll save it. Oh, sorry. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to save it back to local storage, right? So we can just do the same thing here. Again, this is repetition, so we could probably have a separate function that just does the, that does this part. Since we're doing it multiple times, we could take this, enclose it in its own function, and then call that function here. But I mean, that's up to you when you refactor. This is getting out of hand. Now there are two Ryans. Yes. Nice deep cut there to Star Wars Episode 1. I got you. Yep. All right. So after the delete, we'll save it back to local storage and we'll do another fetch. Save that. So I'm going to add one more issue here so we can add brain not working here. Assign it to Claire. Add the issue. All right. So we've got two issues here now on our list. One of them is closed, the other is open. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one and see if that works. Yes. All right. So when that worked, it fetched it from local storage, spliced it out of that whole list of issues, and then left us with with this one that's left over. So that is essentially all that this app does at this very moment. But I do think that something like a ticket tracker can be useful for work in like a work type environment, maybe more useful than something like a to-do app, even though it's generally the same format. Tracking tickets is something that most workplaces have to do. And so you could definitely make this more complex, more full featured. What we might do in a future stream is refactor this to actually have a backend, to actually write to a database, to have a server, um, sit out there on a database, be hosted somewhere. We could absolutely do that. But again, the reason why we did it with local storage today was because I wanted to remind ourselves of the types of things that we can do with just vanilla JavaScript and local storage to essentially just build mockups. So you don't have to make everything all fancy and build out the full stack just to give your boss a prototype, right? For just building out this prototype, you might show this to them and they might want to add 6 features and delete 3 of them. And so if you've already built out the full stack, then you got to go through your entire stack. You got to change your database. You got to, change the way your models are built. And that can get kind of hard to do or complex and easy to make a mistake. So if you want to just build a mock-up using local storage for starters, have some folks test it out. And then they say, here's what I like, here's what I don't. You get rid of all the fields that you don't want anymore. And then you build it out to be truly full stack, and get it working with the full stack once you know exactly what your users want. We are all Ryan. Piece of Shoe says, "Can we see your local storage?" Yeah, absolutely. Let me add one more ticket just so we have more in there. I'm just going to add something here. I'm going to add the "I am getting an error" ticket back. I add that. So there's two now. And I'm going to add one more. Test. Okay, so we have 3 tickets in there now. I'm going to go ahead and close one just so we have a little variety. And another nice thing that Bootstrap does here for us is it makes it responsive to the screen size, right? So it's changing, it's flexing based on screen size, which is a nice thing as well. So let's inspect this and let's look at our local storage. So, I mean, we're already console logging it anyway, so we can take a look here. So we can see I have 3 items. They're stored in an array, but that array contains objects with each item in it. Okay. Every user on Twitch is a Ryan except you. Actually, so at my old job, yeah, the lead developer was named Ryan. And up until recently at work, I worked with another, so like I interfaced with a developer on another team called Ryan. So I think there are a lot of devs named Ryan. I don't know why. It's some sort of, I don't know, convergence of the universe. There's tons of devs named Ryan. Real Scotty says, tracking tickets? Ah, yes, I know it well. My work throws them all into Excel docs. Yeah, so that could be something you improve on, right? And I'll admit, yeah, my work does some of that too. Like for projects within our individual group, like for testing, if we have things out for users for testing, yeah, they put it right now. They put it into an Excel document, and it drives me insane. So part of this was out of frustration. Um, um, so yeah, everything gets put into an Excel document. It's super clumsy and hard to use, and it's not, and it's an Excel document, but it's a shared Excel document, like not even Excel Online, but like the classic type of shared Excel document. So it's super clumsy and hard to use, and they really don't want to switch to Excel Online, even though I gave them a full demo of how it works. So deep breaths, but we'll get there. It'll happen. I know they'll buy it eventually. We'll all get there. Radicide says, first time chat, it's my name too. We have another Ryan. Oh my gosh. See, I told you. It's a convergence of the universe. So many devs named Ryan. May we all be Ryan someday. Maui says, my 100 hours project has like 11 schemas so far. I'm starting to get confused. Yeah. So when you're first mocking something up, instead of having to go build out all your schemas like right away, when you're still kind of in that planning and design stage, you could just do this, have it all be locally stored, figure out what you want, what you don't, how to structure it, and then build out your stack once you're ready. So that could be a useful thing. And like I said, when dealing with indecision from upper management, you can do it this way as well. Oh, you wanted to see? Okay, sorry. Application. You didn't just want to see what was in there. Application storage, and then let's see. Sorry, where is it in here? I haven't looked at this in a long time. Oh, local storage. Ah, there we go. Sorry. Yeah. All right. So it looks pretty much the same. I thought it would. But we can see here where when we just look at the raw value, I mean, it is showing that it's stored as an array. And here it's showing us the individual items. So yeah, it's just an array of objects is all it is. Steel Toad says classic Excel. That's a polite way to put it. Yeah. Classic Excel can do a lot of things. It can do really heavy duty analytics. It can do crazy graphs, wild pivot tables and all that stuff, but it was not built for sharing. Excel Online is a little bit more lightweight, but it was built around cloud and sharing. And so that's what I'm trying to get folks at work to understand is that that's what it's for. Let's use it. If we're gonna do stuff in Excel, let's friggin' use the right version of Excel. But anyway, like I say, we'll get there. I'll just keep complaining until we do it, and that usually works. The squeaky wheel gets the technological advancement. It's in this folder, Excel. Yeah, right. It's 6 folders deep. Why didn't you know where it was? Exactly. Yep. My workplace is doing a forced changeover to OneDrive pretty soon, and I'm really looking forward to it because nobody wants to use OneDrive willingly, so they're going to get forced to do it eventually, which is going to be great. So does that help, Piece of Shoot, showing you this, showing you the local storage itself? I mean, it looks pretty similar to the console log that we did, but hopefully that helps you. And you can see that there's separate sort of locations for local storage and session storage. So local storage is where it is like more long term, like we said, um, whereas session storage, it's just for the current session. Everything in one key might get slow if you have thousands. Yeah, absolutely. This is not for scale. This is my example here is this is how you might prototype something like this. If I were to do this at scale, this would definitely have a database backend. I'd have mongoose schemas set up, and I would do this truly full stack. It would have true database storage on the back end. If I were to get over, if this were to actually be deployed, yeah, true database backend. This, and all the appropriate controls and sanitization and stuff like that. But this is really just an example of how you might prototype something like this before going to all the trouble of building out the entire stack. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of us have forgotten about local storage, and a lot of us are, we're so in that we're so ingrained in that full stack mindset, that it's like, wait, we can mock up this functionality without doing all the work, right? Yeah, you could host it on Netlify or your hosting platform of choice, and have it be accessible from anywhere. Absolutely. Squeaky wheel gets reactified. Yeah. My infinite issues thing must have been a mistake in the inner HTML. I copy pasted from your repo and it fixed it. Hey, nice. That's rad. Yeah, and really, I mean, and I would definitely not use inner HTML like that, all that nastiness in the inner HTML for realsies. I would want to use some kind of templating tool. Probably handlebars or something. Yeah, because that was the janky way to do it, the prototype style way to do it. What about IndexedDB? Yeah, I only say MongoDB just because uh, for the kind of the learning group that we're all in, which is called 100 Devs, we've really only learned MongoDB so far. We're all kind of learning web development as a group. And MongoDB is what we've been focusing on. I know there's tons of database alternatives out there. I, for one, am actually a SQL dev. So I work with Oracle databases in my day job. But in this group, we're learning MongoDB as a NoSQL backend. So, yeah. Creating DOM elements can be easier to track without a template, but it's a lot of typing. Yeah, it is. And appending them. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you could append child and stuff like that. You could do it that way as well. Absolutely. Um, you know, Doing child elements and things. Yeah. There's tons of different ways to do it, just like with most things, right? Depends on what works best for you. All right, I'm going to do a push now that this is working properly and we know everything is working. I'm going to go ahead and push this so so y'all have the completed code. But yeah, feel free to keep asking questions if you have them. All right. Again, this is not something I would deploy, but this is something that I would prototype, show to other people, get their feedback, and then refactor to be a true application. So I would probably actually almost, I might convert this over to like Materialize or an appearance that I like a little bit more, that I like the look of a little bit more. Um, but it's up to you. Bootstrap looks fine in my opinion, but I'm not necessarily a design person. I'm a back end developer. If my app has colors in it, it's that's pretty hardcore for me. So uh, if I added some CSS to add colors to things, it's like whoa. I would just do everything in straight up HTML if I could. All right, finished code. All right, there you go. Whole thing should be pushed. I'll link to it one more time here if you just joined us and didn't have it already. There you go. That's one final link to the repo there. Um, all right. Well, we've finished in perfect time. This is amazing. I like this. This worked out just perfectly excellent as far as timing goes. Um, yeah, and that's a good point there, Rascal. So if I close this up here, you can kind of tell just by looking at this, right? It's got certain things that just look bootstrappy. The way the buttons look, the color scheme, that kind of thing. Um, yeah, it's so common. You'll see it a lot. Once you start noticing it on websites, you'll never not see it. Most people know and recognize it more quickly. Yeah, you have it gives the user certain visual cues as to like the certain colors, and it helps, like they're familiar with how it looks. It's not unfamiliar. Um, sometimes you go to websites that are very visually beautiful, but they're very hard to navigate because things are so stylized that you don't know, you can't figure out where you're supposed to go or where the buttons are or where the features are, and it makes it hard for I mean, imagine very hard for like visually impaired people and that kind of thing. Whereas something like this, which has pretty standard color scheme, very bold contrast, is probably easier to navigate for people that may have visual impairments or I don't know, cognitive impairments or whatever, that may mean they have trouble taking in stimuli. Sites like this are probably much easier for them. Um, yeah, exactly, Rascal. What a beautiful website. How the heck am I supposed to use it? Absolutely. I have that problem a lot of the time with like restaurant websites, um, where it's like, I just want your menu. Like, stop showing me revolving pictures of food and just show me your dang menu. Um, or your hours and stuff, like something simple like that. You just can't find it because it's buried under graphics. Uh, yeah, I find that a lot. Familiarity, yeah, and that Ryan brings up another good point there. Familiarity is a good UI UX concept. Yeah, it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to work. In the end, it just has to work. And so, if Bootstrap is the way that you do that, then that is perfectly fine to do. I just opt for a utilitarian design. Yeah, I do. I really do. I prefer a utilitarian design. Um, just because I think it's easier to navigate. It's easier for first time users to use. Like I personally really do like the way this looks. It's very simple. There's not a lot going on. And your eye is immediately drawn to the important stuff. Like I say, I might, swap it out with like Materialize or something just because I like the way that Google does their stuff. But overall, I like the way this looks just fine. I don't think it needs anything else. Dev Puddle says thoughts on React. Is that something you'll stream more on? Maybe, yeah. Rascal 2. Let me see if I can give him a shout out. Check out Rascal's channel if you want more React. Shout out, yeah, Rascal 2. I'm giving you a direct link to your channel there. They have been doing React nonstop for like, how long has it been, Rascal? Like the last 3 weeks or a month? Just they've been taking all of the old 100 devs projects and turning them into React apps. So if you want some practice with React, check out their VODs. Absolutely. React, do you have Rascal? Do you have a YouTube now as well? Like where you're dumping your stuff? Yeah, exactly. Like Ryan said, Rascal 2 is reactifying everything. No, but I mean, Rascal, like they can always go back and watch your VODs, and I'm sure get a ton of value out of that. So you don't have to keep reactifying everything, but they can go back and watch your VODs. Blip says, I made a weird multi-row grid-like form for my 100 hours project. Ooh. And I have no idea how to make it accessible in hindsight using Bootstrap. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, without knowing what it looks like right now, I'm not sure, what you would need to do. Um, I think you can do was it Google? What's that? Google Lighthouse? Does that help for? Does that have stuff to do with accessibility? I think that might give you a score with how accessibility your page is. And I'm sure you can look up tips on how to refine that. Just googling it. Yeah, and so Rascal there has shared a link to their reactification playlist, which is pretty awesome. So check that out if you don't want to deal with the Twitch ads. Check out their YouTube. Absolutely. ProSite makes minor changes, ending up in new design. Plus one designing. Uh, redesign confuses and angers most users. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I think sites shouldn't be redesigned just for the sake of being redesigned. I'm still one of those people that uses the old look of Reddit. You know, if you use Reddit, you'll know that it got a big redesign a couple years ago. I don't use it. If you do old.reddit.com, you can go back to the old look, and so I just have everything bookmarked as old Reddit. I don't use the new design. Yeah, old Reddit, best Reddit, absolutely. New Reddit sucks. Yeah, and so sometimes just redesigning something for the sake of redesigning it is not worth it. Yeah. Seven, isn't tick tracker just a table with columns being editable and sortable? I don't know what tick tracker is. I haven't heard of that. I've used data tables for that. Yeah, yeah, you can use data tables. Yeah. New Reddit is so clunky. Yeah. So if you are a Reddit fan and you want to get back to old Reddit in browser, um, just append any URL that you visit and any subreddit that you visit with old.reddit.com/whatever, and that'll take you back to the old layout. So that's what I do. Everything's saved. Ticket tracker. Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean, Seven. Isn't ticket tracker just a table with columns being editable and sortable? I mean, you could do it that way. You could make it into a table. Um, right now we just have it as a list, but you can make it into a table if you wanted. Yeah. It just depends on, and that could be, so another way you could do it is you could have it as like a table view, like a report. So we could add another page to this that would list all the tickets as a table. So you could view them in like a report format or have them export as like a CSV or something. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. I think a good ticket tracker can tell you the dependency between the tickets and give you a decent estimate on the completion date. Yeah, absolutely. This is just a basic prototype. My goal with this was not necessarily to build a perfect ticket tracker. The goal was to was to teach folks about local storage. So we're using local storage to host this, and the goal of this project was to teach folks about prototyping using local storage. So here's how you can build an application quickly in just a very short time and host everything in local storage so that you could show it to your boss or somebody. They could give you feedback. You could make quick changes and read and just share it with them again. And then once you're done, that's when you build out your entire stack with your server and your backend. So yeah, we can and so just like with the feedback that you're giving, um, we could say, all right, yeah, so you want that. You want a dependency between tickets. You want completion dates, that kind of thing. We could quickly and easily add those elements to our HTML and then add them to our local storage object and say, all right, now does this look good? Do you like this? And then they would say, okay, I like this. I like this. I want this to be changed, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, all right, I'm signing off on this. The design is good. And that is when you say, all right, I'm setting this in stone. I'm going to build out the whole stack. I'm going to build out my server. I'm going to build out my MongoDB database or whatever you're using to host it, MySQL, Postgres, whatever. That's when you build out your full stack. Yeah, it's a proof of concept. Yep, exactly. It's a prototype, it's a proof of concept. And this is how you theoretically could do this. This is how you theoretically could prototype something, show it to your manager without building out the whole stack. So yeah, there's definitely tons of features that could be added to this to make it better and more usable. Um, but the overall goal is to just sort of demonstrate how we can prototype things. Old TV remote button so big I don't need my reading glasses. Drag and drop it. Yeah, you could add some drag and drop features. We did that with did we hit did was that one Traversy thing that we did? Was that that one Storybook API application? Did that have drag and drop? I don't remember. Yeah, you could do something with drag and drop, like Jira. Like Jira has drag and drop Kanban style tickets. You could do that as well. Um, yeah, and that would mean you need to start adding in some additional dependencies and things. You need to utilize Node and that sort of thing. Add in some dependencies probably. For this, we really just wanted to see how much we could do in vanilla JavaScript, um, and how far we could go with really just vanilla JavaScript and Bootstrap. And we were able to get pretty far. But obviously, I gave you the link to the repo. Feel free to take this and refactor it as much as you want, add features, build it out full stack, whatever you want to do. It's yours to use. It's very basic for a reason, so that you can add features and do whatever you want with it. And yeah, I'll link the repo one more time here. Feel free to fork it, do whatever you want. That's the repo. Go nuts with it. And yeah, and in a future stream, what we might do is refactor this and build it out to be truly full stack. So go ahead and add it back into it. We could definitely do that in a future stream if there's interest. Great kitten name, drag and drop. Oh yeah, we might have done that. Yeah, we might have done it in one of the to-dos that we did. Absolutely. I don't remember. We've done so many of them. I don't remember. Yeah. Okay. Any last questions or topics that we want to cover before we end things for today? Again, this project ended up really taking just about the perfect amount of time to get done. So, no, thanks, Kizaru. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for all the love today, everybody. I really appreciated all the subs, all the bits, all the follows. This is wild. Thank you. Yeah, you're interested in full stackifying this later? Yeah, we absolutely could. Oh, and there's one last thing I wanted to mention before everybody drops off. Just a quick, a useful thing that y'all might be interested in. Is it rude to tell someone I forked your repo? Um, I mean, no, I expect if you're talking about me, I expect that people are going to be forking my code. That's kind of why I do it. I don't build. I don't put like really full like massive, completely finished projects out there on my GitHub because I expect that people are going to use my projects as like a springboard to build cooler things and better things. And so all I ask is that if you take this project and you build something better, and you post it on Twitter, just please tag me on Twitter at Mayanwolf on Twitter. Because I want to see what you did. I love it when people tag me and I get to see what they did with the stuff that we built on stream. So that's all I ask. If you fork my code and you build something cool, just tag me at Mayanwolf on Twitter so I can see what you did. That's all I want. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and if people didn't want their code to be forked, they wouldn't put it on a public GitHub, right? They would put it on a private GitHub somewhere. So if they put it out there on GitHub, I think they're expecting that folks are going to fork it and favorite it and that kind of thing. Last thing I wanted to mention before everybody drops off is no worries, Jen. So I've seen some folks when they're putting together their GitHub, they want to do like GIFs or GIFs, however you say it. They want to do GIFs of like their projects working, like navigating through their projects and have them be looping on their page. And they're like, well, how do I make a GIF? Like, do I have to use Streamlabs, like, and record video and turn it into a GIF or whatever? So I'll show you what I use. I use an app. It's free, a program called Screen to GIF. I think several folks use it. It's called Screen to GIF. It's really easy to use. It's fantastic. A little editor. You can just record your GIFs by just clicking on, new recording, or you can record from a webcam or whatever you want to do. And you just click it and you basically tell it what part of the screen you want to record. So you can see this window I'm moving around. I can tell it exactly what part of the screen I want to record. And then when I'm ready, I can just click the record button and start recording, my GIF. Oh, I didn't click record. Sorry. Click that. There we go. Now it's recording. And so it's recording whatever I'm doing here. And I can stop. I'll discard the previous project. Yes. All right. And it's created a GIF. And I can play the GIF like this. And, we can see everything that I did. And we can see all the individual frames down below. So if I have extra frames that I don't want in there, I can even go through and like shift click and delete those frames to make my GIF shorter and more compact. I sometimes do that when I post a GIF on Twitter. if I have like a lot of mouse movement or a hesitation, I'll go through and delete like 100 frames or something, to make the GIF shorter. And this makes it really easy to do that. And then when you're done, you can just save it, save as, save it wherever you want. And you can, there's all sorts of settings you can tweak, but you really don't have to. And then you can just save it and then like post it right to Twitter or whatever if you want to. Yeah, the one that comes with Windows, I haven't used it, but this one is it's dead simple to use. I mean, it's free, it's simple, like why not, right? So it's really user friendly, really fun. And you can do like you can occasionally I've done things where I don't want to, like I want to share the GIF, but I don't want to share all the information. So you can even blur out. So like you can do edit. Let me see. Yeah, sorry. In image, you can do obfuscate, and you can blur certain things out. So you can add a blurred area. You can mark on it with a pen. Um, you can see how many. You can say how many frames you want that blur to last for. Um, yeah, there's tons of editing you can do. Um, so yeah, it's really really full featured and really fun to use. Yeah, like, you don't have to do this in OBS. Yeah, absolutely not. Not required. Just use this. This is a dedicated program. It's all it's for is making GIFs. Like that is all it does, and it's really good at it. So screen to GIF, um, use it. Absolutely, it makes it so simple and so easy to do. Yeah. I know folks were throwing out a lot of alternatives in Leon's last stream because somebody asked about it, and I was like, no, no, no. I was thinking, no, just use this. It's so easy. Yep. Yeah, it's kind of like Windows Steps Recorder. I think except Steps Recorder is more for just like still images, right? This is built purpose built for GIFs. So I would use this. Again, it's called. I'll put it in chat here. Screen to sorry, screen to GIF. There, I posted the name in chat there for you, Lear. So if you just Google that, it should bring it right up. It's a free tool. Just download it, install it, and start using it. Super nice. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and find somebody to raid, I think. This was a super great stream. Thank you for everybody for joining in. Um, yeah, let's spread the love a little bit. Let's find somebody good to raid. So if anybody has any suggestions, as always, I'm open to suggestions. Rascal says, no, the best way is you need to pull out your phone, shakily holding it with one hand, and record the screen. Ensure there's a glare and a low battery too for maximum engagement. Yeah. And also ensure that you have like 50 unread text messages and like 30 Discord notifications that show up in the status bar. Yep. That's the way to do it. We could do CM Griffing. Let me pull up the list here and let's see who we got. We did just raid them a couple streams ago, although they did raid me back, so I feel like I do owe them a little. 1 second. Strain says, take an extra 3 seconds to hit stop while mumbling about how you can't find the button. Yeah, that's what you got to do too. Oh, Juicebox is on. Oh, we got a lot of good choices today. All right, so yeah, we got Juicebox, Purple, Time Enjoyed, Techie Girl. So I think, yeah, Juicebox is doing software. So is CM Griffing. I think we just rated Purple Elf like last time. Wait, no, or like 2 streams ago. So I think it's been the longest since we've rated Juicebox. Um, who's Druid Mechanics? Yeah, I think. Oh, Druid Mechanics. I don't think we've rated them before. What are they doing? What's their niche? What do they do? Hey, Antonio, we are just wrapping up the stream for today, Antonio, but you are welcome to check out the VOD, and you can follow along. And I have a GitHub as well, exclamation point GitHub. So if you want to code along, you can check out the VOD and check out my GitHub and, copy the, check your code against the code in the repo as well. Okay. Yeah, let's check out Druid Mechanics. We haven't ever rated them before. We'll see what they're doing. And they look like they're developing something cool, some kind of 3D model. So, Antonio, that's an excellent question. So, Antonio asks, are you similar to Leon? You teach people. Yes, I'm actually affiliated with 100 Devs, with Leon. If you look in the lower right hand corner, right, where is it at? There of my window here. I'm actually associated with Leon's 100 Devs. I'm on the official stream team, so I stream for Leon's courses as kind of a volunteer streamer with officially affiliated with 100 Devs. So yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the stuff that you'll find on my channel is stuff that 100 Devs has covered in the past. So I go along with the classes and then I stream about the class content. So hopefully you'll find that useful. How often do I stream? I stream twice a week on Wednesdays and Sundays. You can click on the schedule tab on my Twitch channel to see the times that I do stream. Exclamation point YouTube. So type exclamation point YouTube in chat if you want a link to my YouTube channel where you can find all of my older stuff. So if you're just starting out, um, yeah, there we go. If you're just starting out, you might want to start with some of my older videos, which are going to be easier to follow and simpler concepts and things. So yeah, welcome by the way, and I'm glad you found us. All right, let's go ahead and raid Druid Mechanics. Yeah, no, that's awesome, Antonio. That's a great mindset to have. Let's raid Druid Mechanics, see what they're up to, and spread some love. All right, I will see you all again for class on Tuesday, and then my next stream again will be on Wednesday because yeah, today's Sunday. Okay. All right, I'll see you all again on Tuesday and then Wednesday for class again or for stream again. All right, have a good one, everybody. Raid is starting now. Oh, thank you, Antonio. Yeah, and Rascal 2 will be hanging out in Discord if anybody wants help with the code that we covered today. As always, the amazing Rascal is happy to help. All right, I will see you all again very soon. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye bye.